bit of fun here because third and fourth spots, Barney, two ladies, Marie and Katie, who have pretty much shown that they're the equal, if not better, of all the men at the table. I would say either one of them, on basis of play alone, could take this title.
Both in different ways showed very strong games yesterday. We saw Maria making an extraordinary laydown, which not many players would have been capable of.
I went back to the hotel and practiced doing that with a deck of cards, and I still haven't figured out how to lay it down.
And Katie finding a way to play back and control the very, very aggressive Jacob and making some great moves. She probably impressed me more than anybody else at the table yesterday.
I totally agree.
I saw some betting on this on Twitter this morning.
Who did they have as favourite?
The
chip leader.
Barney. No,
look at this.
I think these two guys were joint favourites. The two golden
check
guys.
this out.
They were 4-1 joint favourites.
Picked up aces first hand, Jacob.
Yeah.
And he's
just gone
3-bet.
7-2.
And he's the person who's going to be least likely to be believed. And I think his plan was, right, today I'm going to get those aces and no one's going to be believing me. And he's immediately in a battle with the chip leader who he's got position on, and they're the two golden ticket holders.
Yeah, and Matus would have come in here with a plan for how to attack Jacob. I mean, we're going to get to see right away what it is, aren't we?
Let the hurricane blow out. And
his plan does not include folding this hand for one free bet.
I don't think so either.
Well, wow.
It does.
Well, that's very, very impressive.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Well, I don't know, Park.
I mean, that's results.
That he folded the ace-8 suited on the button to the nutcase.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You could put a gun to Barney's head, he wouldn't fold that.
Well, that's why I'm so impressed.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think I would have
Well, I don't think it's a good fold.
I would have been more likely to fold bet than fold bet.
I agree.
And I think Jacob can count.
I see what you're saying. Of course,
I can see Jacob could think he was a little unlucky there because there was also a case for somebody in Maria's position to 4-bet him. But we know that's not how she's planning on winning the tournament. And good luck to her. She's got her.
Well, we don't know. We don't know anything of the sort.
Well, we do. We saw her fold the jacks last.
Yeah, that was yesterday.
It is interesting to think.
Well, I can remember yesterday. If you can. Are you on the
But I mean, it might be Mateus might be thinking, you know, that Jacob knows I'm going to be giving him so little credit. If he comes straight out re-raising, he must have a hand. It's those kind of levelling things that are going on here.
Yeah.
I don't think Jacob is thinking like that at all. I think Jacob is just trying to figure out how to win this.
Well,
tournament,
Jacob didn't need to think. He had aces.
And he don't give a shit about leveling.
It's Mateus who had to think that particular hand through, and he came up with the right decision.
Had a nice ace too.
God almighty, we only started.
I love it. This is going to be a fun day, I have to say.
Don't get me wrong. I'd never. When you're at a final table playing for $1 million, they're your chips. You can do whatever you like. And but I think this.
I'm amazed he didn't at least call in position.
Well, I mean, you can say this: if he plans to play like that every hand against Jacob, he's going to get run over. I think.
But you know, what some players forget when they're playing poker is that it's the other guys, the chips. He's bought them, or else he's won them, and he can do whatever the hell he likes with them.
Check to the razor after calling the min raise, and Neil, as we said, where we were talking about yesterday, they might have had his head a little bit down at the end of the night last night because I think he finished on a low for the last 3 hours as far as the chips were concerned. He dropped about 200K at one point. He didn't seem to win a pot after they combined to the final table.
Well, that'll settle him down a bit to win the first little.
Well, in fairness to him, he didn't panic and do anything stupid like I would have. And there's another person here who could well have done the same.
Jesse,
I wouldn't have waited. I wouldn't have waited
stand
so
for that,
long.
mate.
I wouldn't have waited so long. I crack up.
No, he didn't. He did impress me late last night that he did.
One of the great things about building a big stack in these relatively slow tournaments is that you can weather those storms. You know?
Yeah, it's all about buying yourself time.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so many times you say, God, I didn't hit a hand for 2 hours. Well, weren't you lucky you hit a few before that?
Exactly.
Because you didn't have to force things.
Well, Neil feeling a bit chipper.
Do we have a list of what people are in for on makeup at this table? I mean, that should always have to be declared.
We did try and find out, who was in the cheapest for this. Apparently, Jacob won his golden chip in Punta Cana. There was a big tournament, party poker tournament there a couple of months ago.
So Jacob is the fun runner here in the field. He's the equivalent of the guy dressed as the giant banana in the London Marathon.
Okay.
Except in this case, you can actually win dressed as a giant banana.
I believe that guy that's dressed as a banana wears that every day. He was wondering what all
No,
the
but
fuss
it's the
was
giant
about.
one that he gets out.
Oh, sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
that's his Sunday banana.
Well, among the players, I like to look at these final days, and well, here you can see what the payouts are. They're pretty
God, look
sturdy.
at that.
Look at the runner-up. The
Look
runner-up gets a lot of
at
money.
fifth. Look
I'm
at
gonna
fifth,
say,
Jesse.
you know, if-
220,000. I mean, if you were playing a tournament where that was the first prize, I mean, you'd be
happy.
absolutely.
That's right. I mean, a
thrilled,
million pounds is life-changing, but 220,000, that's a good day, isn't
Well,
it?
that'll change the next week anyway.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a pleasant afternoon.
But to think about
Kevin
who's had the
O'Connell
best
phone.
night's sleep and who hasn't. And I think Jacob has slept pretty good because he looks very pert.
I think
does.
Matus slept pretty good because
Oh,
he
I
got in
don't
a
know.
couple hours. He got in a couple hours before.
Well,
we
he
finished that
he
night.
slept during at the table, it's true.
I don't know.
And he's got a new scarf today.
It's tough sleeping on the chip lead, Par.
There's the lovely Mickey May.
Yeah, I lucked out last night. I met a woman in the club. Ended up being able to sleep in her room. It's fantastic.
I think
This
I
place
just
is
she
great.
she was just in shot just then.
This place is great.
God,
Meet
you're
people
never
all
you're
over.
never going to shake that one off. She looks like a keeper to me.
Yeah, but what does Jesse look like?
There's-
Chidwick's in a spot where he's looking for fold action. He's just going to. Does he have enough chips to do this?
Yeah,
Stephen.
he started with what 23 blinds today, is that right? And it's a trouble flop
Yeah.
for Chidwick. Let's see.
Well, if
If
you
we
go to
can
play
save
the
his stack
8-6,
here.
this is one of the flops.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I met his lovely parents outside. They've made a 2.5-hour journey. This is their first time seeing him play live on a final table, and unfortunately, they gave him the superior balk of when he went in saying, "See you in a couple hours. Don't make it too quick," which is
Oh, charming.
they'll learn they'll learn as experienced sweaters that you never balk a man like that.
This is an interesting one here. I mean, Stephen will be aware that Matus did absolutely nothing, I think, for the last 2 hours last night, or else perished the thought I wasn't watching. too
Well, it
closely.
didn't stop him defending the big blind with his hand, and you've got to say he's hit his flop.
So to me, shoving
Oh,
is
well,
one of the
absolutely.
plays here. He's given himself a chance to get away from it on the turn. It looks like, is he?
Yes.
Oh,
He won't be
baby
getting away
doll.
from it now.
I enjoyed talking to his parents so much. They were so keen that I have to say
Is that
I
when
don't
they
want
ran
to see
out the
him
door?
going too early. What?
Well, Stephen will be like he's a short stack coming in here, but I'd say there's a level that he's thinking of, that he's planning to get to where he'd be back in as favourite to win the tournament. He's certainly the most experienced of the big
he's
paydays.
got a great
here.
chance of a double up now. And he was always the one who was most likely to play the short stack well at this table. He was never going to panic, but this is a great opportunity for him to get right back in amongst it.
I'd like to know if he was prepared to fold on the turn. I'm guessing
Yeah.
he was prepared to fold on the turn to a shove.
If anybody was going to, filled up.
And that has probably, you would almost say that aside from Stephen Chidwick's parents and Stephen himself, nobody at the table is enjoying this result.
No, I was just
hand.
saying. I mean,
Yeah.
there must
that's-
be some level that he's aiming to get to where he'll be favoured again.
Yeah, yeah,
He is the most experienced and probably the calmest player there. And
The only person who might have mildly mixed feelings about it would be Jacob because of the old golden ticket. But I think even he would rather have seen Stephen go there.
Yeah, I mean, Stephen may have come in with 40 million, but they'd have been absolutely thrilled to see him walk. I mean, well, first of all, they'd have picked up another 22,000 or something like that.
Okay,
Secondly,
Stephen has 23 bank bigs now after that. So yeah, he was.
Yeah, I mean, it's
started
huge.
the pot
I mean,
lower
the
than I
leader's
thought.
got 59.
Geez, I'm just looking. I mean, obviously, this tournament's had a lot of play.
We should have
but,
taken that 14 to 1.
for 8 players, as long as there's 8 players left in, this thing is going to resemble a bit of a crapshoot. There's basically every
Any
pot.
luck at all.
Well, you're not going to be playing a pot without jeopardizing your stack right now, are you?
No.
It's going to be very itchy for the next hour or so, I would say. It's funny though. Sometimes you get a couple quick knockouts, and then the blinds look like they have a lot of play again.
Has this pot been raised?
Oh, Neil's under the gun. Jeez, that was
Well,
a
you're
nice
counting
six.
on not getting repop when you raise under the gun with this kind of hand, aren't you? Because you can't defend really if you are. So what's Jonathan going to do? It's against an under the gun raise. It's a bit too strong to fold on the button. Do you think he just peels?
Well, now it's the third time that Neil has raised pre-flop,
Well,
isn't it?
it's still an under the gun raise.
Yeah. Well,
I don't mind the fold at all.
no, well, Jonathan has respected the fact that it's under the gun for sure.
Kate, on the other hand, has got a different kind of decision. She's already in for the big blind, and
Yeah, and she's leaving. I mean, right now, obviously, one of her options is to shove. I'm not saying it's the right one, but she's definitely.
she's never shut up. But we're at 5 and 10, right? Is that right? The blinds?
4 and 8, I think.
4 and 8. Okay.
Yeah. Or 3 and 6, or 4 and 8, 5 and 10. The blinds are high.
4 and 8 makes sense. No, just in terms of how much more she had to put in there to.
Well,
to see a
it
block.
actually can't be 4 and 8 because there's 28 million in the pot. So you figure
Neil
the blinds
is
must be 6
Neil
and
is going to continue
3 and
here.
6. The blinds must be 3 and 6.
Well, in which case
His right hand stops
Sorry, the
in
blinds must be
mid-motion
2 and
then went
4.
back.
The blinds are 2 and 4.
Doesn't matter what the fuck.
They're 2 and 4.
Oh right, he made it 11 to go.
I
didn't
figured
he?
he made
Yeah,
it 8.
yeah,
I figured it out.
Yeah. Well, I think this gets through,
sorry,
doesn't it?
Mike.
It's a very small bet, as if he's as if he's trying to let her think that he wants to keep her in, but actually he was trying to buy it cheap, and she saw through that. He's now picked up a gut shot, and the ace is a good card to continue the story with.
He kind of has to bet here, right?
Yeah,
because
yeah,
obviously, if she has the ace, the pot's over anyway. He can only win it now.
Yeah, that's right. And having been called once, it's a very good card. You know, it's a very convincing story that he's got a big ace, even ace king. You know. She's going nowhere with this. Yeah, that's.
Would he have checked back an ace though? No, he wouldn't.
I don't think so. Not with 2 diamonds on the board.
Well, I'd say he's come here with a plan which is not to ladder up, or at least if his plan was to ladder up, he's not executing the plan very well. He's playing, which is good. I just saw also on the Twitter while doing my homework that Maria came second in a very big tournament.
In
was it
Argentina, or?
No, Razdavov or
Rosbadov.
Prague, yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Oh.
for about 100K just last year.
Well, that
Certainly, this
doesn't
is not her
surprise me.
first big final.
That makes a big difference, doesn't it? Actually, being in on a streamed or televised event, it adds extra pressure. Getting a hand like this takes a bit of pressure off.
Well, having been there and done it before, certainly a huge advantage.
Yeah.
Because you're far more comfortable. You know, I mean, there was something we didn't talk about yesterday was the fact that these people are on the streams with dozens of people watching. You know,
Yeah,
that
you're
does
not
bring
human. You're not human if it doesn't come into your
Of course,
thinking
yeah.
what how people are going to judge you, and especially if you've got shareholders and what have you.
So,
Yeah, but
I
it
actually-
does bring a huge amount of pressure in itself if you're not used to it.
I don't mean to be pedantic, but I'm finally
Well,
settling now
when are you going to stop?
that the blinds are 2.5 and 5 million.
Yeah,
That's my
yeah,
final. That's my final offer.
So basically, you were
Well,
both wrong.
I was wrong every time. Yes, except for now.
So was Barney. So don't feel so bad.
And we should have
were
known because all we had to do was divide the raise by
I
2.2.
I thought it was 5 and 10, but
I was
thought,
about to say
'cause I
that.
thought 11 was twice 10 plus 1. I didn't get my maths O level.
Dominic Nietzsche was just telling us.
Well, if you did, it would have devalued every other maths O level ever given out since 1940.
Unfortunately, it has been getting, the standard's been going down, but I was about 20 years too soon. I still would be.
Maybe 25.
By the way, Neil has decided that now is the time to 3-bet kings. Now, his timing is off, but I kind of like the idea that he's decided that Maria is someone who will lay down a lot of hands to a 3-bet at this stage of the tournament.
But she's also somebody who's more likely to give up on difficult flops. I kind of like the idea of calling and playing her off flops because she's, she sees the danger a lot, and she's very, very thoughtful. Sometimes you can only bluff a thinking player, you know what I mean? And but obviously
he also had the option of folding.
Yeah, he did.
And
yes.
Well, Maria has well, from what we saw, I mean, which is only a small percentage of her play. I mean, she was playing. She was one of the tighter players at the table last night.
Yes, she was. But
he's trying to do too much too early here, Park.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can say, what's he doing? It's amazing what the adrenaline does to you, right?
Now this is great. The way that she has.
Has she called it?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
This is perfect.
I like that.
She had a long thing.
That's a really
She's
strong
after him
play
for
under this sort of pressure.
She's after him for
going
the
for
whole
the
stack.
lot.
But by the way, she is also saying to herself that she's willing to fold on an ace-high board, right? I mean, that's also what she's...
I don't think that was a major part of her thinking. She's just setting a trap. I think she knew that Neil was playing back at her. That if she re-raised, she was going to lose him.
Yeah.
She's prepared to take the chance, and it's not a bad flop for her, is it? With the King of Hearts in her hand.
It's fairly insane. No,
She might just raise now.
She's going to hang him. It's actually quite funny. I don't mean, but Neil reminds me of myself. I remember I was playing this one tournament where I made the second day for the first time ever in Denmark, and on the third hand of the second day, I was so excited and I had told myself how tight I was going to play, that I managed to get 86 big blinds in before the flop with the 2 8s, and was lucky the man only had queens. He made a crying call, as it turned out.
Cool story, bro.
No, but what I was trying to say is I think sometimes.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that with us.
No,
a day 2 story from Denmark.
What I think happens sometimes.
What will they think of next?
What I think happens sometimes is that
Meanwhile,
you don't realize.
will she just flat call here? I mean, this is the.
I think she's.
I mean, I think there's enough in there that she's supposed to raise, but she wants him to hang himself for the whole stack. She doesn't want to give him a chance to get away.
Let me just finish very quickly. My point is that you don't realize.
I thought you were finished.
You don't realize sometimes what a guy has been doing for the 12 hours since we've seen him. And my guess is that what Neil has been doing is not sleeping much. And I think he's come to the table a little bit cracked up.
This is great because is he thinking, well, she might just have the Ace of Hearts here. I can still pressurising her. Or is he going to give up now? She's giving him a chance to hang himself for the whole lot.
He's got very few chips left.
And it
Do
looks like
you know who used to do this kind of play an awful lot, Barney? A lad who won't be doing it again. Dave Coldclough.
He did?
He was doing this way before anybody was. I mean, he'd often play the aces very similar.
Well, it's a very old school way
as
to play.
Maria, you mean?
Yeah, it's a very old school way to play against aggressive players, and it's worked to perfection. She knew. She's still thinking now. No, she's waiting. She's calling quickly. Yes. Checking that the King of Hearts is there.
Still.
She knew this was the best way to get paid against the hand she was beating, and she's calling now. She always takes her time, all the time, and that's fine. And she's got 100% in this pot. He's got no way of winning it, and she played it to get the absolute lot. That was brilliant.
She let him hang himself, and that's
Yeah, yeah.
exactly what he did. But what I mean is,
Little smile.
yeah,
No, it was a great
Got
call.
him.
It was a great call, yeah.
I think the pressure may have gotten
Well,
to
you,
him. is what I'm
you
trying
got to
to say.
like. I
He's
mean,
pretty- yeah,
well, at least no, he came to play.
yeah.
It reminds me a lot of how I went out of this tournament, actually, or how, as
With that
John would put it,
Denmark,
how I got whittled down. Played a hand not unlike the way he played his hand there, I think.
I got all my chips in. Absolutely stoned.
I mean, look, he's had a great tournament, 72,000 pounds, absolutely fantastic result from Neil, but a very, very quick morning for him. 5 hands, I think.
He can hop into the ladies. That started 3 o'clock.
And for Maria, not only the chip leader, a big chip leader, she's got a quarter of the chips in play.
I'm being like, yeah.
And we have not
God
seen any
almighty.
evidence from her that she's going to give them up.
I think she would have shoved on the turn if she didn't have the King of Hearts in her hand, but I think she wasn't too worried about getting outdrawn there.
Yeah, if he had
and she
a-
knew if
well-
he had the Ace of Hearts in his hand, he was probably calling anyway, or very likely. So, she read the situation perfectly.
Jeez, think how much money she made by just calling that bet
Yeah,
flop
yeah.
rather than re-raising.
Fantastic.
She made an extra 100 million there.
Fantastic.
How many people would do that? I think very, very few people would have played the kings like that under this pressure.
Well, she's done her homework. She knows what they think of her. She knows that they're going to try and push her around without a hand.
I mean,
And
that
she
was-
says, OK, come and have a
that
go.
was-
That's,
a
that's a
fairly
good point,
stunning
Barney. They've
play.
had 12 hours to
Yeah.
talk to their friends,
Yeah, yeah.
coaches, mentors, the whole lot.
She's seen
and,
that,
and
Jack's
to look
lay
at how
down.
everybody else had played.
Yeah.
Had played yesterday, and but it's a bit like a chess match. You know where a guy's got all the guys in his corner, and they're all analysing and rerunning computer things.
Yeah.
And,
To be fair,
coming up with a strategy to play against all of them.
you'd almost say that people should nearly always play their aces and kings that way, but most people are just too scared to do it. I mean, it's
Well, the
it
thing
puts
is,
you-
if you
puts
always
through
play
a
your
ringer.
aces and kings that way, well, then the value goes
Yeah.
down.
Right.
You got to pick your moments. I mean, the thing is that she knew that a lot of the time the guy didn't have a hand to continue with if she re-raised. And it's understanding your customers and picking your moments, isn't it?
Well, exactly, Barney, because, I mean, she probably felt that her image to the other players at the table after what we saw in the last few hours last night was that she was playing pretty tight. And,
yeah,
and
that's
if she,
right.
And if she had re-raised...
They would have passed a lot of genuine hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So obviously they came up with a plan to knock that one on the head. And
Well, if they think that she's just passive, they're going to have to recalibrate their picture of how to play her now.
This now is the second heads-up pop between Stephen and
she
Matusas.
certainly sent out a warning just to try putting me on a hand.
Yeah.
And Stephen made a very, very, very small bet after raising pre-flop. And
Well, is it the 10 or the king he's going to hit on the river?
there doesn't seem to be a huge point in him betting here, does
Yeah,
it?
but he might think the king could be good. And it's going to be hard to get rid of the ace.
Yeah. Well, I think Stephen knows enough to give up here, and hope
Yeah, but he's either winning it with the king or he's going to lose with
exactly.
it or anything else.
There's very little left. He's beating up 5-7 or whatever. Yeah, he knows when to take his foot off the gas as well, doesn't he? And it helps that he had that double up just now.
Well, also being sort of primarily a mixed game player, sort of thinking 2 or 3 moves ahead won't be beyond him. You know, there's a lot of technical stuff involved in that.
Boy, she's leapfrogged the field. Neil out in 8th. Everybody guaranteed about 100K, I guess. Happy days.
I'm guessing that Stephen's played a lot of heads-up poker as well, which helps you a lot in these in these situations, these blind on blind and these button on blind coups where you know.
Fairly interesting developments. All of a sudden, Maria, who about 8 minutes ago...
I want to know where they've got a mic on Steve.
They want to hear his beard growing.
Like, you know, unless he's going to fart. I just don't see the point.
So Stephen Chinnick is all in and in trouble.
Yeah, he'd like to see like an 8 or a queen on the table, or a jack. But I mean, you know, well,
Oh boy,
Oh my
that
God.
is bad news for Katie Swift,
she,
and great news for Stephen Chittick.
queen now becomes an out for her. Oh,
Ouch! I'll tell you what, it all happens so fast at these final tables. Chittick now, he's going to have 100. He's got 130 million. He's a huge force, and
Well, he's getting to the point I was talking about 3/4 of an hour ago.
look at how composed she is.
Julian Gardner, remember Parker, used to have a very we're one of the greatest players ever from Manchester, right? But he used to have a very
the
strict
best players
schedule
ever
about
from
how
the
he
UK.
dealt with multi-day tournaments, which is I think it was 15 minutes before the end of the night. He would start.
Get order 2 pints.
Right.
Yeah, he did.
And they would,
Oh, come on. Katie's gone all in for a pair of tens. You know, a great hand to find with her stack. And I thought Jeremy had a pair of queens behind her. I guess I misread that.
I
Must
think
be king
it
queen.
might be Maria that's got the queens. It certainly might be.
Oh no,
Or maybe it is
okay.
Jeremy.
No, he's
and
still got his
the
cards.
action's on
Okay,
Maria,
yeah, okay.
God, well, I hope they don't, because I'm rooting for Katie to win this tournament.
Yeah.
Well,
I
don't worry, Park. She's got to double up sometime, and the tens have been hot.
the tens
Well,
have been hot.
if he has got queens, it's
Very-
definitely now
tens
on
have
that.
had
How,
Okay,
how
but
many TV programs have
what's
you
Maria thinking
You
about?
come out with shit like the
Okay,
tens are hot.
fives.
You don't remember that? There was that fella from the
I-
Midlands,
I-
Dave.
I do remember.
It was my favorite ever interview.
Well, I can't blame you for that.
He had played some of the most unorthodox poker we'd ever seen. Every move he made was right. Every fold, every re-raise, everything, and he had beaten Robin Keston heads up in a tumultuous battle. Dave, what was his name? He was from the Midlands, online player. And when we did the interview after at the table, I said,
Oh, yeah,
said,
yeah.
"How did you make that call against Robin with the 7-4? It was fantastic." He said, "Well, sevens have been hot all night."
Yeah. Well, I mean, we were expecting
We
something.
were talking about him like he was the,
God,
the
I've
next
never, I've,
coming-
rarely,
the next
I've
coming
rarely
of
seen
Mr.
you so
Nazareth.
disappointed.
So Maria's thinking about what it would cost to her if she got pushed back on, you know, and
This is a tough decision with the players behind her. is
yeah,
that right?
well, she's got. That's right.
She might be remembering what happened yesterday. Do you
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
that
yeah,
when
yeah.
she got stuck calling after, was it Katie who
you're
found
right.
the big
Oh,
hand
shit.
behind
Yeah,
her?
yeah. I mean, but big blind. I think she would have called Katie there.
yeah.
Still a bit of a decision because you know she's only ever in a flip.
She had the ace-9, didn't she? And then Katie
yeah,
woke
yeah,
up
yeah,
with the
yeah. That and then she was priced in.
Yeah.
Not against that. She had the ace-5, didn't she? Ace-5
she had the
suited.
ace-5, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Clubs, I believe.
Okay. Well.
I think you're right, Mark.
Well, it's now or never.
Katie Swift all in. I mean, she has been, for me, she has been the revelation of this tournament
Yeah.
so far.
Yes,
Let's
I agree entirely. Jim.
no disrespect to Jeremy.
To the other bastards.
I mean, she did one thing that was kind of actually too good, which was calling with that king of spades, king high, and
I mean, I don't know. I think that might have been a mistake.
well, she felt she was priced in, she was bleeding bluffs, and but then it was losing with the ace king that really did for her, and it's a 10 or nothing right now. But she has played absolutely fantastic. She should be very, very proud.
£100,000 for Katie Swift, and perhaps the promise of things to come.
Touch
But,
of glass, she goes around, shakes hands, and just had her heart ripped
Yeah.
out.
She would have been a popular winner around here for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Good girl, Taylor Swift. Well done.
Jeez, where did she learn to play like that? This.
Not
You know,
the
this.
double down, obviously.
I would have to say that this club has some. 11 million.
Well, will Jonathan just take a flop here?
He's grown a badge overnight.
No, it doesn't feel it's quite deep enough, and earlier in the tournament.
Actually, he hasn't. He's traded up. He's swung.
Look at this. Now, Stephen's got the option to just call here. He sometimes,
He's the snap shove guy.
Yeah.
you know, Jeremy's been
Obviously
raising a
sold
lot.
out overnight.
Yeah,
He's in the second best.
oh. Well, this ain't good news for Stephen.
It's not. He's got under 30 bigs.
Yeah.
It's still a big raise, I guess. I mean,
Well,
you only have one player behind you besides the initial raiser, so he's probably thinking.
he wouldn't have been, he wouldn't have been putting it down if Mateos thought
Right,
he
he
was
can't
just
three-bet
playing
fold.
back at
He can't
Jeremy.
three-bet fold.
So if you're going to raise, you might as well do this. I mean, he did have the option just to call here under rep his hand, but
Why
he
did they
doesn't
a
have
Z
that option
at the
anymore.
end of that guy's name? Did anybody ask how he pronounces his name?
Matusas. Well, that's how John Duthie pronounced it. Matusas.
Mateos.
Oh, that was it, Mateos.
Mateos, I think, is what.
Anyway,
is what it
John
looks
Duthie
like.
pronounced it correctly at the beginning of the show, so we're covered.
Meanwhile, there are
That's
three.
good. I'm very professionally concerned there.
If you'd like to listen, if you'd like to know how to pronounce Matusas' name, scroll back to the beginning of the show.
We could be about to lose the strongest player in the field here.
I don't think so. I think he's going
You
to.
think the ace is coming, yeah?
Yeah. I think so. But
Not the
yeah,
back door straight.
look, this is one of the casualties of the blinds not being of the blinds being quite high with all these players. You know, your stack is at jeopardy every pot right now.
Well, I mean, to be fair, these were two genuine hands, and these callers are going to occur.
Stephen Chittick gave us a lot of entertainment yesterday.
Yeah,
And,
I'll tell you what, this guy's got such a... Nobody, I'm guessing.
okay, I'm guessing Maria. That's my guess.
Well, he might be next for her rope-a-dope treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't think he's raising this to fold to a repot from Jacob.
I wonder how many scarves he's got.
Jacob's going to take a flop here.
I think it's actually the same scarf as yesterday, Park. It's just tied differently.
You think so?
I really do, yeah.
If Jacob flops another set here, it just ain't fair. It's too easy when he flops sets.
Actually, if he does flop
Can
another set
Jeremy-
here, I think he'll start worrying that he's hitting his stride too early and not getting enough value out of it.
167.
I think he'll start worrying that he's in some kind of poker version of the Truman Show. Flops another set here. Okay, Jeremy's hit the front. And Jeremy's probably going to check this, yeah. And Matus against one player would certainly have a pop on this flop.
Just think you pretty much bet no matter what, don't you?
He's shown the least propensity to continue, but he's certainly thinking about it this time. Yeah, I had trouble saying that the first time. Don't make me say it again.
Got a propensity towards tenacity.
Okay, it's a good flop to rep as the raiser, but he's not going to get rid of Jeremy for one bet here, that's for sure. He's just going to call, do you think?
Well, I thought guys always called one pair when they were in the big blind and the pre-raiser bet the flop, but
Yeah, most of the time. And if he's in front, he's likely. I mean, that's Jeremy doesn't mind that turn card at all, because Matus is liable to switch off.
because Matus has ace queen.
Oh, yeah.
No. No, I know what you mean. But it doesn't really change anything, does it? Or you mean because he would be more likely to check a king back there?
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
also a 9 is one of the things that, in his range that
Yeah.
Matus might have been putting him on, that he might have thought he could get him off on the turn.
Definitely.
I think Jeremy's in check call mode now, isn't he? Or do you think he's going to try and get a bit of value here? I think he's in check call mode.
Would have been a good time for a blocking bet. No?
No, he's too strong
Forgot
for that.
about those.
Too strong for that. And Matus is too cute. You know, he's going to get called by anything that's beating him. Anything. He's got the nut F all.
Phil Locke came up with an idea for a bet. I think it was a triple combo, blocking, value, and it was something else.
That's a sandwich you can get at Denny's, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. That's exactly what it was. It was a blocking bet, a value bet, and a roast beef sandwich. All periods.
Well, most of the viewers are watching it on Twitch, aren't they? And there's a few people watching it live.
Both of them are watching it.
It's not.
Last we heard, one guy had a bit of a problem with his connection, but he's back now. Welcome back, Jimmy.
And if you feel the need to turn it off, please just leave your computer on.
Jimmy's just fallen out of his chair.
Yeah.
We need the numbers.
And if there's two of you watching on one computer, can you let us know, please? The feedback will be invaluable for the future.
We can give you 2 caps.
Yeah, Trinidad and Tobago.
Go on, Maria.
One thing we have not seen much of yet is they have not been giving Maria much action when she raises the button.
They're not playing back against her, that's for sure.
No,
They're
I mean,
playing back light.
I mean, aside from Neil,
And in fairness to them,
Yeah. How did that work out? Sorry, Porrick.
Well, they've been right not to, but I mean,
Yeah.
now we've seen a gear change, which is
Spink's on the shortest stack, and she wants to know how much it is. I think he started with about 22 big blinds, which is basically half of anyone else at the table. So he's not going to find this thrilling to play.
I think he's actually started the hand with 16 bigs, I believe.
Okay, that's even less fun.
Well, this.
I mean, Chidwick took this situation on. This is when the exact spot where he turned the 2 pair and made a mint. But
Well, she's checking back for deception, and she's more likely on this turn card to get a bit of action on the turn now. Does he go for the check
well,
call?
if she's got second pair, the short stack is the one you want to be playing against. He's probably more likely to have a panic bluff. And,
Well, I mean, I think she knows she's good nearly all the time here. I don't think he gets too cute because she knows that he's not likely to bet out.
I think she just knows that he's only got one play, which is he's got to fold or shove. I mean, she's got to either play for 16 bigs or play for nothing, I guess.
she's actually, in a way, she's a little unlucky that he's got some showdown equity.
But she knows that he knows that she's not likely to bet out on the turn without the hand.
If you're going to start off a sentence, he knows that he knows.
Yeah, can you at least just wait till it gets dark? Give me a break.
Okay.
I know that Parg knows.
She's got to go for a little bit of value here, isn't she?
I think she probably will.
Yeah. She doesn't like these pots to get too big, and she controls and controls. She doesn't want to be in one big coup, and she picks her moments to get a little bit of value.
Would you say she's basically been the best at the table at dictating pot size all the time? She's very dominant every time she's in a pot at controlling the size of the pot the way she wants it.
This is a tricky spot for Jonathan here.
I mean, most players in her shoes would have bet both the flop
good
and the
fold.
turn, and he's done well not to.
Well, he's judged that it's a value bet.
Yeah.
He may, well, I guess he may think she may be value betting the 7 even.
Is it easier
But it's
for you on 11? Is it easier for you to do that?
He's opening wider than anybody right now from under the gun. And this counts as a big hand, 5-handed.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at this lineup right now, and I'm seeing Jeremy raise. I'm thinking, who is the guy that's most likely to 3-bet him with air? I can only find Jacob right now.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been
Excuse me.
What's her name again?
It could have been Katie. It could
Katie,
have been, it could have been Stephen. It
Yeah,
could have
yeah.
been Neil.
Yeah.
Honestly, those were the three
Yeah.
players that we've lost that were besides Jacob, most capable of the three bet. With there, I'd like to think that.
And another few of the 7,000 or 8,000 that played this tournament.
Well,
whose names we temporarily forgotten.
Oh boy.
I must
this
say,
is a split pot a lot of the time, though. You know, I mean, it's
It's not as
it isn't yet, but
I bet you it's not.
as often as you think, Barney.
well, no, you're right. Actually, it has to come two big cards, doesn't it? So, yeah, Jeremy's in a very good. This is horrible for Maria.
I mean, this is a true cooler. There's almost no way the chips won't all get in here by the end of it.
Well, she's the player least
she's the player
likely.
most likely
She's
to
only
keep
gonna call on every street, and if he thinks she's calling a lot lighter, he's gonna bet small.
Yeah. She may well avoid doing maximum damage here.
Yeah.
I mean, and she can always get out of
We've
it.
seen her escape tactics today.
A heart. I'm going to say a heart will be. Well, he's got the heart. If he thinks that she was calling with a flush draw, well, I mean, he's betting again, isn't he? He's got a heart in his hand too.
Oh, wow.
Well, right. It was a good card for her
Yeah.
in sort of the results-oriented way where she's much less likely to check raise, isn't she? Isn't she much less likely to check raise at this stage?
I think she
Or
was
is she
over-
more likely to check raise to
I think
protect?
she was
Well,
very unlikely
it
to
got
check
him-
raise from what we've seen. I mean, she's
Yeah.
she's a fan of the smaller pots.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's aware of the danger too. If he wants to continue, why
By
can't he
the
have
way,
an ace?
This is as hard as you want to work to keep this pot small. He's just bet 25 million. I mean, there's going to if she calls here, there's going to be 100 million in the pot.
And by the way,
hard to keep
split
it
pot. So
small.
it's only a 4 or a 5 that splits the pot now, right? I mean, it's,
Or an ace, Barney.
Well, the last ace. No, that doesn't. No, that doesn't. His kicker plays with the last ace.
What last days?
It's a split pot because there's 5 aces in the deck, right?
That would be a good result. I mean, what I do like about this girl's play is, well, first of all, the way she's been playing, but secondly, the composure she's shown. I mean, you know, this is the big stage. It's huge pressure, but she always looks calm and thinks the whole thing through.
Oh, this is horrible for her.
Well, what is Jeremy thinking? I mean,
Well,
he knows
I
she's
wanna-
calling. He knows she's not calling her.
Yeah,
with a
yeah,
four, right? Okay. I mean, he might start thinking about what does this woman have because
He might start thinking she's got a flush.
Well, it can get checked
you'd
down.
have to start thinking about it.
It can get checked down.
And the truth is she's probably if she has an ace, there's not that many
Yeah.
aces. There's actually more aces that beat him than beat her. Is that true?
From
but
where he's sitting, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, ace deuce would be good.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, he's
ace
only
10
been-
and ace jack.
He's only
are-
beaten ace 6,
Ace-
ace 7,
ace
and ace 8.
Yeah, that's right.
And he's losing to the flush.
And he's seen how she played those kings.
I mean, think
Yeah,
about
but
it this way.
you're right, that could stand to her for sure.
What does he expect to get called by here with a
Yeah.
value bet that he beats? It's not exactly like the World's Fair.
Ace
That's
8,
right.
ace 7, and ace 6.
Yeah.
How many times do I have to tell you?
I mean, what about King 4, Parg? Is King 4 totally gone at this stage? She
Yes.
wouldn't have called
Yeah,
25.
yeah,
King
yeah.
4, right? King of Hearts, 4 of Spades, maybe. Maybe she'd still beat him. with the
I think
King
you're
of
right. I
Hearts,
think
4 of Spades.
it's.
Well,
Oftentimes this is checked and well, no, he's.
I'd say about 50 million would be.
I mean,
Oh, that's nice.
it's a pretty good bet by him when you take all that into account, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it though?
I don't know, really.
Is it against this
I
bet?
actually feel like she's much more likely to have a hand that, if I'm sitting in his shoes, I'm actually thinking she's more likely to have a hand that beats me if she calls.
She's
That's what I'm thinking.
and she's also the only player that can lay this hand down. It's not impossible.
She doesn't have to lay it
No, no.
It was
I mean,
130.
He didn't
No,
say
no.
she had to lay it
I-
down.
I'm
He
not-
said that she's the only one that
Oh,
can
that
lay
can.
it down.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
you listen to
I
the
mean,
man, he's talking sense for the
She-
change.
she's-
And you,
if she's thinking it, she's not thinking about raising it. She has to call. He's priced it right, you know. But if she was thinking, you know, those were the choices.
yeah, it would be interesting to ask him afterwards what he thought she had.
They say, oh,
No, it would.
yeah, no, yeah.
I know the reason I
Well,
was laughing is because
maybe
he
she
might-
thought.
he might
Maybe she
give you
thought
a-
he had. He thought she had like jacks or something like that. But
Maybe
is-
she did have jacks.
you know,
Maybe she did have jacks. That's interesting, Barney. Or 7s or 8s or 6s. Yeah, that's.
it's not never that she has these kind of hands. I
Did
think
she?
he felt like he had to. He
What-
felt like he had to
what-
get some value. But
What are the rules here? Did she
best
have
hand wins.
Yeah, well, that's.
No, she did not have to show.
That's one
She
of them.
did not have to show.
Thank you, Jesse.
She did not have to show.
Did she show?
We're trying
She
to
showed.
do a serious commentary here, and you guys are just taking the piss.
Well,
Did she have to show? No.
No. Why would she? Unless he asked. Of course not. You, you
I'm
play
asking what the rules are here. I mean,
anyway, she
well,
she
I
lost.
see Marcel Lusk in the building. There's liable to be any rules.
arguing everything, and then we told him we'd lost the tapes. The
Well,
show-
we did
and
have
the,
to-
the
we-
show never went out.
I mean, but that's not fair. We did have the audio. Just forgot to turn on the camera. Could happen to a
Could
bishop.
happen to any production company. It could happen to anybody.
It was just more likely to happen to us.
I mean, putting film in the camera, it's not automatic. It's not automatic.
Yeah, it doesn't do itself anyway.
I've met tons of cameramen who could.
Jacob
Yeah,
once
but
again.
I would tell you what, we weren't the only ones. Ian Langstaff and I interviewed Shane Warne in Vegas.
With no film.
Without turning the camera on. And then I went and had a few beers with Warren and Langstaff, and then we had a few more beers. And then we went to have a look at the thing we'd done. I think it was for Sky or something. Sky Sports. And so then we had to do it again. The second one was way better after the beer.
Does anybody think that Maria is being too passive pre-flop with this hand?
I mean, this is obviously very dependent on who the raiser is.
Jacob.
It's Jacob.
Yeah, I think you're right, Jesse. I mean,
She does not want to play for.
oh my God. Having said that,
Everybody's
this
in.
is going to.
But this is.
it's Matus that has the 8-9.
Yeah, but Jacob's not going anywhere.
I think we're going to find out whether they've done a deal on the golden chip
Okay.
fairly shortly.
Okay, now Jacob, the razor, he feels he's hit his flop. Maria, we know is just going to call.
No,
Although-
I
well-
disagree, Barney. I think that this screams out for fast.
Well,
play, doesn't
well, it does because she can rep a draw, but she loses her customers a lot of the time because of what she thinks they think of her as well. And up to now, she's been slow playing. But I guess she's thinking about whether this is a spot for a race. I mean, you and I race here, right? With the images that we've got and,
I don't
and
know
with the
if
draws
it's the
out
image.
there.
I mean, tell me I'm thinking about it wrong, but my feeling is
You're
that
thinking about it wrong, probably. Sorry, were you going to say something else?
But
well, I'd
miraculously,
be so scared of what the turn card would be that I just want to get all the money in so I didn't have to think about it. Now,
Yeah.
how wrong is that?
it's
not so bad.
It's not wrong. It's amazing. You were thinking wrong, but the right words came out. What are the chances?
Well, it is a spot where an Omaha player will be way more scared by this flop, even if it's happened in a Hold'em game.
She's mostly thinking about getting paid here. She's mostly thinking. She knows that they saw how they played the Kings, but she also knows that if she puts an extra chip in the pot, they're going to be petrified.
Look, because she's got the World's Fair as far as the top pair goes and stuff like that.
Top
she-
pair.
Well, she's got the set, whatever. What I mean is, she's pretty sure that they're either both on a draw or that Jacob's on a big pair.
Well,
I mean,
she
if they
doesn't-
have anything.
She doesn't know anything about what they've got yet. She's called one raise from Jacob, and Matus has called out of the big blind. She doesn't know how much they've all smashed this flop. It's quite unlikely. Of course, if she thinks Jacob's got an overpair, of course it'd be great. Be great to raise here.
Which she's also aware that Jacob may have absolute air.
Yeah. I mean,
Which
this is
seems
often
to be one of his favourite hands.
it's often the case when you smash a flop this hard and hold them that you're a bit of a rabbit in the headlights trying to work out how the hell not to lose your customers.
Or I mean, is she working out if there's any way she doesn't go broke in this pot if she has to, you know?
Anyway,
or-
she's gone for the call, right? No, she's not. She's not thinking about backing off. She's not. You know.
This woman is. She's nearly. She's
Relax, Jesse. She's.
Well, I mean,
She's very gutsy.
look at what's Matu's going to do.
She's got you.
What's Matu's going to do? I mean, he was probably planning to raise Jacob, very likely, but now that she's called, all the alarms are going up. He can't. He's folded it.
Oh my God.
In
Second
answer to your
pair in the up
question
and down.
about the chip deal, Parg, the answer is no.
And the fact that she's folded it makes it harder for Jacob because
Yeah.
you know he's got a real hand, but she's supposed to be drawing here a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But I think he's
She's
going to.
supposed to be drawn here all of the time. Near enough.
Jeez, that was an amazing fold by Matus. That was amazing as far as I'm still trying to work it out.
Right, and it was incredible, and that's the respect he's got for Maria. I think the fact that he laid that hand down. But I mean, I don't even know if it's right. I mean, he's the only one with
He's
the only one who's got
golden chip.
only one with an 8 in his
I
hand.
think the man might have some respect for money.
Yeah. But now she's.
I don't even know if it's right. What is he thinking? That if a 6 or a jack comes, he's not even sure if he wants to get all
Well,
his chips.
never
in?
mind
Is
what the
that
guy who's out of the pot is thinking. What's she thinking now? Is she thinking? Is she just going to call again?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what. From everything we've seen, that's what it looks like, right?
Oh, I'm pretty sure.
Although there are cards on the river that can kill her action. Now, if she thinks she's up against a genuine hand, it might be time to race.
Well, she could also think that she's up against air again.
She could think that.
Jacob is the guy
That's true.
at the table with the propensity to bet with absolutely nothing.
What's
she
that
may
word?
be balancing off. I mean,
But Parg, if you do call here, you almost have to call all river cards if the guy shoves or no.
She's not
I
worried about.
I think she's not worried about.
She's
that.
raising.
Why is she not worried about this stuff? I'm worried about it.
Don't do worry. Her
She's
boyfriend's a poker player. He must have lots of money.
She's not.
Oh, God.
She's only thinking about extracting the most chips from him. That's all she's thinking about.
Exactly.
Balder
Barney.
dash.
That's not balderdash. God, if it was home with her, she'd be nearly hoping to.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, I mean, I just tip my hat. You know, this is why I just am in awe of people who play this game well, because how you can be worried about anything.
I can see why you might be.
No, it is. But like when you see somebody who's able to execute like this under pressure, it's fantastic. Really.
Yeah, well, I mean, we
Well,
can't.
she does have to upset.
Yeah.
And it is Texas Hold'em, and she's up against the loosest player at the table. But you know,
Yeah, I mean,
there's been
besides
more.
all that.
She's been in more pressure situations than this. The only pressure she's under now is how not to lose the guy.
Right, and she didn't call, by the way.
No, she raised, and this is.
Just like any normal, cold-blooded American.
And I think.
Well, any normal woman player
You think
would be playing the women's poker tournament where they belong.
Wow,
Not
I mean,
over here ruining our tournament.
by the way, this would have been in the bin. You know, he's supposed to fold here, isn't he, against her?
Yeah.
He's got second pair in the gut shot. Yeah.
This would be
Yeah.
absolutely horrendous.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he's not strong enough.
I mean,
yeah.
I've loved the way Jacob's been playing for the last 2 days, but this would just be,
Murdering your chips?
yeah,
Yeah.
this would be suicide.
I think he finds the fold. We've seen him find
he
good
finds
folds, but
the
yeah,
fold.
that's good. I mean,
That would have been absolute.
she's a little bit disappointed, maybe, but
Show us the river card.
Well, I mean, we've seen the way she played the Kings. So if we were watching, you can probably take it that Jacob was keeping a decent eye on it.
What I want to know is, every time after she lays her hand down, she turns around and whispers to the guy. Is she telling him the truth?
the way
And
the game
it's
should
the
be
setup
played,
to, and the people they've got involved, and the people running the thing.
Yeah.
Is everything about it. We've seen people get very emotional, and certainly
Yeah, of
people getting
course,
knocked
yeah.
out near the.
That's understandable.
Yeah, and it would be a shame if people didn't care, you know.
But you don't have to call a guy to see you next Tuesday. I mean, just because you get emotion,
No, that's absolutely right.
it does help. there is a certain satisfaction that comes out of it.
He's nearly like, I'm starting to think he's like this Daniel Negreanu character, Matus, who just does not like the 3-bet. When's the last time the man put a 3-bet in, for crying out loud?
Christmas 2014.
And as Jacob just called as well. No,
Jacob's-
Jacob put the 3-bet in. Okay.
Jacob's a man who knows how to put a 3-bet in.
Yeah.
And
God, you guys are all over this. Don't know what I'm doing here.
can I mention that Matus is in a
Yeah,
bit
sure.
of trouble here because he'll feel like he's under-repped his hand right now, and he's in position. Is it as simple as a call, or more, might he decide that he can win it here with a 4-bet?
Well, I mean,
I can
Jeremy's
promise you
also
the one
working
thing
out.
He's thinking about is not that he can win.
I'm going to say Jeremy's working out whether he's priced in here
Oh, okay.
because there's 2 of them out there. And,
Can he take a few chips back? If you really want to know.
He's thinking about Polish fondue.
Matus just
I'm very
calls.
disappointed this guy isn't from Switzerland. Like it's supposed to be.
Parg, there was a player from Switzerland in yesterday. His name was Chris Bigler. No, there was
God,
a
yeah.
Swiss player in
That's
yesterday.
right, Chris Bigler.
Sir.
I mean, I expect Jacob to bet at this.
If he doesn't bet at it, he's not going to win this pot, is he?
Well, Jacob's. Well, I don't know. He's got the best hand. I mean, he's the most aggressive player. He won't bet. He won't win on the street if he doesn't bet. That's for sure. But he's gonna.
God,
I love nothing better than to be exposed for what I truly am.
yeah. There's only 8 cards in the deck.
Well, I mean, it's an easy fault for Jeremy. Not so easy for Matus. I don't know what Jeremy's.
Well, he's not making it look very easy. I mean, with Matus behind him, who could very well have a king, it would seem like a very inopportune
Well, he could
time to
he
make-
could very well be beating Queen High anyway, whatever he's got.
No, what I mean is,
I
is,
know.
is there any reason for making a play here?
No. I think it's just I had a real hand well up, isn't it? And but Matus, I wouldn't be. It's not so straightforward for him. There's one overcard to his pair. He knows that Jacob put a squeeze on effectively and could have it. But he gets away. He doesn't mind. He doesn't mind that he might have been bluffed.
He gets bluffed.
We've got a beauty here on Twitter.
Sometimes you get bluffed.
There's a guy called James Flynn who says, "Cheers for the shout out, Porrig. Jimmy, Caribbean poker."
Jeez.
It's a
As
party
easy as
package.
that. As easy as that.
Yeah.
It's like falling out of bed.
Yeah, but look at these guys. They
You
got
should have
golden,
mentioned
they
that.
got golden chips. They're worth shag all at the moment because only one guy's going to win it. Mind you, he is going to get 100,000 rather than a Caribbean poker party. What about that? Okay, well, anyway, it's on in the UK. Million guaranteed for 200 quid. You're mad not to play it. And there is golden chips.
You're mad
guess
not to
this is
play it,
one of
but
these
playing it isn't an automatic cure.
So Maria, by the way, who's been 100% on the
therapy.
button raises. And that's the second time, isn't it, that Jeremy flatted in the small blind with the big ace. Did it with the ace-9. I guess this is all over. But he's
Jonathan, who's the low stack? God, this is like manna from heaven. Where's manna
Well,
from heaven politically?
That's a shame for Maria. I don't think I've seen her make a raise with that kind of hand at all in the 2 days we've been playing.
she's been raising every button since
Actually-
they went 5-handed. She's raised every
Okay,
button.
cool.
What?
Yeah, but apart from
Yeah,
that, you
yeah.
were bang on, right?
Yeah, well, I said with that kind of hand.
Yeah,
She's been
correct.
raising with that kind of hand, yeah?
Well, she did it with a jack-9.
have to-
No, that's not that
yourself
kind of
every
hand.
time.
Jack-9's massive compared to a Queen-6.
Just as an education.
Interesting thing about, oh gosh, I was going to say interesting thing about he.
He's ourselves.
Yeah, you know, I would say the reason I'm not crazy about this is because Parg, he made a call on a small blind to raise with an ace-9 earlier, so certainly the players would be aware that he is.
Expect them to be further ahead.
You know what I mean?
It was a question of how many chips he had committed and the fact that he knew an ace was going to come on the flop.
It was a pretty big re-raise. I mean,
Yeah.
it was what was 12 up to 100. So
Yeah, yeah.
it wasn't inconsequential.
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be a fold, wasn't it? I think you're right. And this is very, very unfortunate for Jonathan.
I mean, you know, you can call if you say, well, it's just.
Yeah,
I
he
guess
thought
he was at it.
he thought some of the time Jonathan was squeezing with King Queen or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he factored that in.
Well,
I
with
mean,
the
it's
dead
fair
money.
enough. In some, you know.
Some of the time he would. I mean, what would you have done with King Queen and Jonathan's shoes there?
coming into the river.
You're
Jonathan
absolutely
would've
right,
wished he was
Barney. If
with
you had King Queen, if you had King Jack, if you had 10 Jack suited, if maybe if you had 8-6 suited, you were going to shove there, right?
Yeah, quite possibly. Quite possibly.
Some of those.
He wasn't just calling to spike an ace against a pair of kings anyway. That was only part of his plan, and that's
Try and give him trouble. I don't know.
well. But Jeremy does give trouble. Oh, you meant Matus? Yeah, right.
Or, I don't know. No, I honestly don't know. I was just thinking back on what I was saying and realized it didn't make any sense at all. So,
Right, let's move on to the next hand.
Take it how you want.
Let's move on to the next hand as quickly as
I really
possible.
want to know what that tattoo is that we
I already have. I'm just waiting for you guys to catch up.
do you think it's Jeremy's tattoo? It's obviously a phrase. I'm guessing it could be Latin.
Can we zoom in on it, please?
Well, you can't. You can only see half of it. See,
Well, we could zoom in on half of it then. Try and have a viewer's prize for who could guess what the other one.
you should have a trivia question.
Yeah, what
Ma-
what
I'd like
colour
Ma-
was
I'd like Maria
Matus's
to
jumper
bet this.
yesterday?
I would like Maria to bet.
Answers on a postcard and send them to whoever you like.
Does anybody think Maria's playing a little bit too passively? in
This
these
is her
contests,
MO. She's checked back second pair. She's done it every time.
Yeah, but there's so many dangerous turn cards. I mean, obviously there are some that help her hand as well. But okay, it's worked. It's worked because look, there is the golden. What's it behind his flag? I mean, she doesn't know where she is, but she having underrepped her second pair, it wouldn't be right to just fold her, would it?
I don't think so.
She's never raising ever.
You know, you can think of how many times she has checked back the flop after raising
Yeah.
the flop, and it's not just heads up, but three-handed. I mean, it's part
And
of
the
her.
great thing is, I mean, Matus is very unlikely to try and steal it again because she knows how big a hand she can do this with.
I don't know, and I don't know. I mean, I actually don't know what's going to happen if Matus bets big here. I wouldn't.
He certainly knows
Well,
it's the only way he can win the pot.
Well, I'm pretty sure he's not going to bet big.
Against any other, well, okay, he's going for it. He's thinking about it for sure. Against any other player, he definitely would.
I think he's going for it because, as I said, it was time to change the plan.
Well, he may be
Yeah,
thinking
but
that-
he
man,
needs to
Matus.
think that she's changed her plan too, of just calling behind with big hands.
She hasn't made a lot of huge river calls. She's been.
Yeah, but she doesn't need to make a huge river call here. I mean, she's actually hit a 9. She's beating an 8 now. You know, I mean.
Well, she's only beating. Yeah, I mean, she's only beating a bluff. Right?
Which is,
But yeah, well, that's true. But I mean,
she's first, second, and third in this pot.
I say she calls here.
I am. The interesting thing is that she checks back. She checks
39,000
back the flop so often, Barney, that she at least must be in kind of her comfort zone in a sense.
She's
You know what I mean?
she's getting 2.5 to 1 here.
It's not the best price in the world.
I've seen you take worse. As recently as this morning.
It's
I say she calls because even though the 9 doesn't really make a whole lot of difference, it
Well,
helps
it's a
her.
blocker.
so it's
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of like
yeah,
the
yeah.
isn't the traditional play if you check back second pair is to go call, right? I mean, that's the traditional way to play it, right?
Well, it does depend a bit on how they run out as well.
If
yeah.
Matu said 9-10, I mean, he could be value betting a pair of nines here, couldn't she?
Well, if he had 9-10, it's a split pot.
I don't think so, Bart.
How is it a split pot?
2 9s, 2 3s, and a jack.
How about 9s and 8s?
Oh yeah.
With 2 3s and a jack. Well, he's spotted the 2 3s.
I'm going to catch you in one of these sooner or later.
Barney, tell me about
I
that.
doubt it.
Tell me about that white button on the table. What's that for?
It's cocaine, solid cocaine.
Well, sure they will.
Oh.
Oh, God, this is too easy.
I think anything besides. I don't know. What do you?
She's calling. She's got a call. Her hand's just too strong.
Well, it's a good call because she has to decide that this is the first time he's bluffing. You know what I mean? I mean, he does not have history for
What's
this.
she counting out here? How much is she counting?
That's
that is a
40
call.
million.
That is a call.
Sure.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, she has to decide this is the first time he's bluffing. This is definitely. We've been talking. We've seen all his cards.
She's getting 5-2.
Yeah, but this is definitely weird for him,
Well,
Bart.
so, I mean, I've often taken 5-2 about a 20-1 shot. You didn't hear me bitching about it.
Oh, you better.
No, but obviously you're right, Jesse. That is, I mean,
That's what makes it most difficult.
yeah, if it was nowhere, she'd have it.
I mean, if she played this hand this way against Jacob, you have to call this bet pretty
Jacob.
much every time, right?
I think she's calling.
Tell you what,
I
she's
told
put
you,
him-
she's calling.
she's put
You
Matus
guys-
on
Well,
the
she
burn.
she
you
knows
guys
that.
are out of here. Well, unless she's got the hand that you think she has.
She
Brian.
knows that he could have bluffed a flush draw, you know, whatever. And
But he has never bluffed up to this point,
well,
really.
does she really fully aware of that?
Oh, I'd say she's as aware as we are.
Well,
I'd say
no,
she
we've
probably-
seen the cards, you know.
I would
And
guess
more aware than some of us.
I would guess that her support team is at least as extensive as anyone on this table.
I say she's calling. She's hating life at the moment. She'll be loving it in a second.
She's made a lot of good decisions. She has made it. She has to call because she's made so many good decisions.
She kept the pot small. You know, if she's wrong, she's done the minimum, and this is how she plays.
She's calling. She just doesn't know she is yet.
Do you remember? She's made some big laydowns on the river that looked like they were supposed to be a call.
Yeah, but she's got to sleep. Did you sleep after passing this?
It isn't automatic. You're right. She is kind of really only beating a bluff, pretty much. But
It's hard to get money out of you guys. She's getting 5-2.
I mean,
God,
sometimes he's valuing an ace-8 to stop her making a bigger bet or whatever. You know, I mean, probably not
sometimes
very
he's
often.
betting at 9-10.
Nah, you guys got it all wrong. He's terrified of her. He wouldn't value bet anything. If he had anything with showdown value here, he would have checked it. He's not making a
Yeah.
value bet
Yeah,
against
yeah.
her. He's
Well-
been watching the game too.
We know that.
Well, he hasn't been doing much else.
I still say she's calling.
Of course she's calling.
Let's get the clock out. You had long enough. There's only £1 million for first prize.
Yeah.
Good call.
Excellent call. Well done.
And he did not even show. I love that she didn't show either.
Well, I think he was reasonably confident he was behind.
Yeah. But you know, that's the second player at this final table that she's basically taken out of the tournament by virtue of letting them hang themselves. I mean, she did it with Neil. This is the same thing. Matus was sitting there like a log. And he's finally.
And it's great that she didn't have to show down because what she might have been thinking about was whether to raise or not. He doesn't know that now. They don't know the strength of the hand that she called down with. So they're still going to be petrified of her once she makes that first call.
I don't know why Matus just didn't turn his hand over anyway. I never
Yeah,
understand
because he
that.
would
What,
have.
she didn't have to show her
No,
hand
no,
there?
and
Well,
he
'cause
would have got the
mucked.
information.
He just mucked.
Well,
Yeah.
that's bullshit.
Well, no, it's his fault. He didn't want to show his
say it
hand.
wasn't his fault. Oh, well, what about the other guys on the table? They've been bet out of the pot. Surely somebody should have to show a hand or get the pot. I mean,
Park, how long have you been playing this game?
I've been playing this game since you had to show 2 cards. To win the pot. I joined in sometime after they came up with that rule.
She's a silent assassin, Maria, though, if you think about it. I mean, honestly.
She
I mean,
didn't
she's
even-
taking the legs out of 2 players here, just letting them hang themselves.
Well, in fairness, you could call anybody at that table the silent assassin. 'Cause he said,
Well,
"Oh,
Jacob's done well not to re-raise with this hand. That's anyway. And he's caught enough of it that he's going to pay one street anyway, isn't he? Jeremy always.
He's just
continues
itching to
here.
get in a pot, Jacob. He's seen all this action. He does not like sitting on the sidelines.
Yeah, I hope he's found something to watch on his phone.
This is
Jesus, he's not thinking about fold.
no, I don't think so. It's a call all day long.
I'll tell you, Jeremy must be feeling pretty good about things. I mean, it's been a long time since he could think about the £1 million.
Does Jeremy check back the turn to try and get value on the river, or I think he probably just bets the turn small, doesn't he?
That would seem like a very...
Well, with 3 clubs on the
With
board,
3
it'd
clubs on
probably
the
be a
board.
good idea.
Yeah, yeah,
Or else he really likes to gamble.
yeah. And this is probably going to be the end of this, right?
I'm guessing he's an online player. He's got a very automatic way of putting his chips in.
I'm pretty sure he's really there.
Well, I've been fooled before too, Barney. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
By the way, how's that golden chip looking now? I mean, Jacob,
Jacob's in command.
a
as far as
massive
that goes.
favorite to win it.
He's in command, yeah.
Speaking of the golden chips, there'll be 100 golden chips given out to players who make it through the online day 1 of the Grand Prix London, which will be from the 17th to the 25th of June this year. And all you have to do is be one of the first 100 through a day 1, make the final table, and you're off to the Caribbean.
And if you contact Parg
Poker
by
party.
Twitter, he'll
He'll tell you.
he'll
In Ireland. And he's saying, well, how did that work out? She says, not too good. She said, I had to turn him off altogether. Joe says, why? And he said, well, he started telling me what to do. Instead of giving the information, he started castigating her play, telling her she didn't know what she was doing. The whole lot.
Jacob has stopped playing back with these hands. But he doesn't like to put them down either.
Well, the fact that the other guy that's in for the golden ticket is struggling a little bit, do you think that might be influencing Jacob's play?
Possibly that he doesn't want to commit too many chips out of position on a bluff. He wants to take flops. He fancies himself on flops, quite understandably.
It's just the prize money has got so big that the tournament within the tournament for the golden chip is fast becoming less and less important when you look at the million up top.
Maria's always checking this, right? Because she's not the raiser, and she wants.
She wants a
Jeremy to have a
continuation
stab.
bet.
She
That's
wants
what
it-
she's getting.
Yeah.
Oh, it's nice when you're playing well and running well.
I didn't think you knew anything about that.
According to form, she just calls here, but I mean, she is changing her game up. But it's a dry flop too. There's no draws to rep.
I mean, you like the flop, but you're not crazy about it.
Yeah.
The guy keeps betting, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
And she has shown a propensity to fancy playing small ball.
Yeah.
And she's playing small ball now. She's putting on a masterclass on how to play small ball.
She
If you
calls and
raise, you're only-
he probably
I
switches
thought I
off.
was the only person.
You're only going to get called if you're beat if she raises.
Exactly.
There's no point in raising. Let the guy keep bluffing. He's
Yeah.
got you beat. He's going to call your raise, so And you just burned up money.
I'm guessing.
Oh, no, she's picked up a gut shot as well. But I think that he.
I'm guessing. I'm
as
guessing
he.
this is check.
Yeah, I think so.
I think Jeremy's
Yeah.
going to give up on it.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. From what he's seen, he knows how she just calls with biggish hands, and
Yeah. Which is kind of good news for Maria in a way, in that
You know, if he puts on a queen, he might try to bet again.
yeah, but from what we've seen from her, she's quite likely to be doing this with any of it. I mean, this guy has not got enough information to put her on the queen here. Like.
yeah,
I think he does. She didn't re-raise pre-flop, so she doesn't have a big ace. He knows that. I think he's betting to try to get her off a queen.
he also saw her thinking for a long time before making that call before, so he knows that when she calls down, she doesn't always have huge hands. But she's picked up a gut shot as well. How big's the bet? It's
37 million.
Right now, she's only beaten the buff, and she knows that. She's out of
37
position.
million now. 1 million was the most I ever had in this tournament.
She's definitely going to call here.
I think the fact that that a free will be a mystery straight will help her call. Never, ever, ever racing for the reasons you say, Mike.
There's no point in raising.
She still can fold, knowing the way she plays, but I don't think that's the plan.
She made a very tough call a little bit ago with second pair. Now she has top pair.
She's facing another street, of course, and
Just what
yeah, I mean,
you think she would do.
she's praying for a 3 or a 5 here, especially.
She
a
doesn't
3,
want to see like the
obviously.
jack of diamonds come off. That's a good card for her.
She's going to be in a little bit of a quandary if Jeremy decides to go again here.
But he's seen her so many times call every street.
I
with a
know,
big hand.
but he knows at this stage that she's got some kind of a big hand.
Yeah, he's given up.
Yeah.
He's given up.
He's given up, and
That's right,
wisely so.
Yeah.
She's going to take down the pot.
I thought,
A big bet would have worked, but it's easy to say that sitting in here, isn't it?
Well, as Stu Unger once told me, he said, that you set the rest of your money on fire.
Mate. We'd all rather be out there, wouldn't we? Playing for £1 million.
You just have to so
I don't know,
admire
I'm happy enough in here.
that they stepped up to the plate and put up a $6 million guaranteed prize pool with $1 million guaranteed to the winner. I mean, that is awesome. That is just, to me,
That's how you build these big tournaments.
Yeah, you
with that
remember
kind
the
of
first one
confidence.
in the Isle of Man, Mike?
yeah, I played in it.
Not for very long.
Well, no, but hey, I got through today too. But
It was just
Yeah,
as well.
it's-
There wasn't much else to do in the
it's
Isle
that
of Man.
million that's hanging out there that people just, whoa, that's it. That's the dream. I mean, life is all about dreaming. And if you never take a chance and reach out to try to grab the brass ring, you're never getting anywhere. But at some point, you can play a phase 1, a satellite online, go to a casino partner, and maybe play a satellite to get in, and you'll have an opportunity to go for that million one day, and who knows, might fall your way. Look, I won a tournament this past year, so there's hope for everybody.
That's what I was thinking when you won.
Oh, they're having
Me and a lot of people.
every senior citizen home. They're having parties in, and they're saying, "Hey, there's hope for us again." You know?
yeah.
I remember when
And you guys fall in
want
that
to go
class,
home.
I might add.
I remember Park winning a tournament a few years ago, and I thought there's hope for everybody who he owes money to.
Yeah.
That's very unkind.
It's very unkind. I can do better.
You didn't pay anybody either. Are you going to this Caribbean poker party, Mike? November?
I hope I'm going to everything.
You're probably going to have to.
Well, I'm really thinking about making another move here. This would not be the time to do it, obviously.
I think she will bet. She's the razor on the button, right? And you know, it doesn't look like a bad flop for her to bet. She'll have one
Yeah.
stab at it and give up.
Unless the 4 diamonds comes off or something like that.
Well, yeah. Now, does he play back?
Well, the short answer is we don't know. He hasn't been involved.
Well, he's the
too
short
many
stack
times.
left. He's got the golden chip. I think you do play back. No, he's just calling.
No, but if he gets action once he plays back, you know, it could be dodgy for him. So wow, that's well, he loves
Well,
that.
now there's 4 diamonds. Could
Yeah,
get her
yeah,
in
yeah.
trouble as well.
Yeah, or could get him in trouble depending on the river. Check on the turn. I mean, if he does check,
I would think so.
she's happy to get a shot at picking up her mystery flush now, isn't she? She knows she's behind.
Once the guy calls on the flop, he's got something.
Yeah. He's pretty confident he's in front now. Yeah.
Wow, what a bet this is. You think if he checked and called on the flop, that he would have checked the turn, but wasn't the case.
He's bet. What?
Yeah, maybe
It
he's
was
woke up that she might have a
56,000.
flush draw. Spades or diamonds here.
He's bet way under half the pot.
She's definitely calling.
I wouldn't say it was definite.
No?
I'd say she's definitely going to think about it.
Yeah. She might feel a diamond could potentially get her into trouble, you know, but it's very, very difficult, isn't it? What does she think he's leading out with? On
He's
the
never
turn?
going to lead out with a full house, that's for sure.
No, but does she think he's leading out just with spades, trying to get a cheap turn, river card, or maybe to get her lay down?
Might have 3 kings, might just have 2 sevens.
Yeah, with a 7. Yeah, because now he's going to like a 7 more, isn't he? Once it pairs the king, it makes a lot of sense for him to be leading out with a hand with a 7 in on the turn.
I would think so.
Certainly with his chip stack, he's
Well, if she's got a king, he's beat anyway. So he knows that. So I think she's going to call here. And she is. If the unsuspecting diamond comes off, she's going to stack him.
As long as it's not the 4 of diamonds. Well, he's got 2 lines there, isn't he? Check to try and catch a bluff, or bet to
Absolutely.
try and get value.
No
Well,
point in betting.
Well, I
If
mean,
she raises him,
he doesn't
this-
know there's no point in betting, though, does he? I mean, he doesn't know what she's calling down with.
I think he absolutely has to check. He moves all in
Oh,
instead.
yeah.
You have to give him a chance to bluff at it.
Well,
You're going to get played with if you're beat.
he hasn't seen her. She has bluffed, but he hasn't seen her bluff, and he knows he's going to call. So I guess he feels he might as well bet and maybe get a call from queens or jacks or something. That's how he looked at it, anyway.
Yeah, possibly. Obviously, I guess that is the case, but I think you have a much better chance to catch a bluff.
Can I get latte? Latte? Latte?
YouTube.
800.
Ah, okay. Thank you.
Our apologies for being a little late. It looks like we're straight into the riverbed at the first hand. And Maria's having a big dwell up here. Fourth pair against Jacob. Unfortunately, we have no idea what the previous action was. But
Due to a technical hitch.
a technical hitch which involved a bag of potato chips. But
All the best ones do.
Well, I'm impressed. I see a 34 million bet out there with second pair and a 3-card flush and 3-card straight out there.
It looks like he might have 2 pair as well as second pair.
Oh, queens and sixes, excuse me. Oh, that explains it, why he makes the bet.
and I mean, I would just guess he's played a little trap. He obviously he's a guy who has a lot of form for having air here, and that's probably why Maria's thinking so hard with the fourth pair.
What could he possibly have here with a stone bluff? She's going to lay it down. So Jacob with the 2 pair taking down the pot. Mike Sexton here, happy to be joining Jesse May. And
340.
well, the beauty, as you say, Pork, is that everybody with every bankroll has an opportunity to participate in these party poker events, whether they're Grand Prix events, whether they're Party Poker Live events, whether they're guaranteeing $5 million prize pool with $1 million for first. But the opportunity is out there for those that want to reach out, try to grab the brass ring, go for the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And to me, that's what it's all about. Dreaming to make the big score, to put your life a little bit on easier street, and certainly opportunity is there.
Or to get gambling a bit bigger.
It is, but there's a little more. I was just reading that Katie Swift, apparently she qualified for this for 100 pounds or 120 pounds. And, I mean, it's not just the money. It's also the opportunity to show you can play. You know what I mean? She's someone, she's obviously been running around the local scene for a while. She got in here deep on the big stage, and she showed people her game, which is...
Yeah,
I mean, unbelievable.
There's a whole load of big
World
game
class.
players around here this weekend. You know, the structure is so fair. I don't see nobody going around complaining or making excuses. We got outplayed, got beat, and
The beauty is everyone that watches live streams, everyone that watches the World Poker Tour, they're all sitting at home watching these big name players, and they're all saying, geez, I can play as good as that guy. I
And
should
they
be out there
can.
playing for $1 million.
Well,
and they're right.
well, the answer is they're right some of the time.
That's correct.
Not more than you think.
All right, nice flop for Maria here, top pair.
She just flatted the under the gun raise from Jacob.
Jacob now has the worst hand, obviously.
He's no stranger to that.
And I think
God, he
slipped
has
it.
he checked?
He's absolutely slipped it.
Well,
Wow.
you might bet that hand against one player, but it's hard to bet it against two, I think.
Well, this guy could bet it into a field of 8 or 9, Mike.
Really?
Yeah, this guy's got balls.
Already, I like him then.
Oh, you'd love this guy. He's one of us.
I don't know.
He did a great 5-way squeeze from the big blind with the jack deuce, and then followed it up with a barrel. It was pretty good yesterday.
Lovely.
Deep into the tournament.
I was wondering what all the fuss was about.
Yeah, I don't know why Maria's taking such a long time to bet here.
Is there any reason not to bet? I mean, she is a person who has checked back. She's got a pot control sort of thing, and she checks back a lot. But against two players, Mike?
Impossible to check here.
Right.
You just can't, any overcard just shut you down completely. You just can't check here.
Do you
But
find that
what I really like about this girl is that, you know, they're playing for huge money. They've been playing for it for days. But she looks so composed, and she stops and she thinks about it. I mean, whether she's got a monster or a marginal hand, but she you know, she gives it a lot of thought, and she ain't going to go out of this tournament making a mistake because she didn't consider all the possibilities, and that's great composure on the huge stage.
Well, there's always a big difference between the kind of people who take a lot of time and the people who give it a lot of thought. You know what I mean, Bart?
Yeah, yeah.
You see,
Here's a case. They both check to you. It's an automatic bet. I mean, what do you need to take time for? You just bet.
You're desperate for that shot clock, aren't you, Mike?
Oh, boy.
That.
Oh God,
to be
yeah.
honest-
Well, I'm with Mike. on
Of
Don't
that
get
one.
me started on that. The
Well,
action.
it-
the
Yeah,
action
get him
clock-
started on that.
But it is. I mean, it is. You know, the game. We can't be playing the game in 2054 the same way we were playing the game in 1954.
Some of us are.
Let me
shot
tell you,
clock.
we just used the action clock at the WPT Tournament of Champions. Virtually at least 90% of the players loved it, absolutely loved it.
And the 10% that didn't love it, we don't need them there anyway. Wasting
Yeah,
our.
exactly.
I mean, how much
And
time
in
do they
fact,
think we have on this plan?
I would say 95%, honestly, rather than just 90. But
Well,
it just makes the game so much better.
Sorry, Matus check shoved here with
Wow.
the second pair. I mean, it's the kind of play I think we were advocating him to make a little earlier, Mike. But it's the first time he's done it. Now that he's done it, he's totally wrong. I mean, maybe not wrong.
Well, you can't
Wow.
blame him.
No,
But he didn't raise pre-flop,
no.
so you're not going to put him on an overpair in that spot at all. The only thing you might be scared of is he flopped 3 5s.
Well, especially with his stack size.
But other than that, there's not a hand you're going to fear in this spot.
Why did he decide to do it now? I don't really. Did he decide maybe that there's not a lot of tens in Maria's range?
Well, maybe because we were talking about she stalled so long. Maybe he thought she's just making a move, so he decided to make a move on top of her.
Well, she's well capable of folding this.
I guess
tell
she
ya.
could be vulnerable to King 10.
You're talking about another 100 million here.
And she will be aware. Oh, she's just called him.
She has called.
Well, she has to call. I think he just picked the wrong time to make a move here.
He did it. It's only. I think it's only really interesting because he kind of.
Well, she's wincing like
declined
he's
it.
got the best hand.
She really is. That's a reverse pot.
She should have gone to Specsavers.
Well, maybe she's wincing because he's got outs. Maybe she didn't want him to have any outs. You know, who knows? Well, now
No.
She's got her wish.
he has no outs.
He has no outs, no golden chip, and very soon no scarf. And Maria has won the pot, but let's remember that Jacob has just won 100,000 pounds.
well,
On top of what he wins here at this table.
well, judging by the fact that he's not smiling, I'd say they've probably chopped it up.
I don't know about that, but I do know that.
I don't know
I
either.
don't think so either.
Well,
Just
we were
make the
talking about it
conversation.
should have been an instant bet for her because she took so long to bet those 2 10s. He didn't think she had it, and he committed all his chips, and it cost him. But
Jacob Mulhern is he the very first golden chip winner? Is this the first time they've had the golden chip
well, they've had it in the Grand Prix events.
All right.
But this is the first time, obviously, in the
in a big tournament like this?
big tournament. I've never heard of any.
I think they got close to doing a lot of money in the Grand Prix events a couple of times on the golden chip, but this is where there was going to be a guaranteed payout.
as-
It just had to last longer, not win the tournament
Right.
with the golden chip.
It floors me. I'm floored that they would give $100,000 bonus money on top of the prize money.
That's guaranteed.
Whatever you win, that's
Yeah.
guaranteed if you outlast everybody else that has a chip. It's an incredible, really, you could have literally come in like 16th and won the extra 100,000. You know, you
Yeah.
didn't have to get this far. It's amazing 2 people got this far.
Well, Rob Young is involved. I'm surprised they only got 100,000.
As much as I like,
There were
Rob
only
Young,
70 players that had golden chips for the 100,000 coming into this event.
Have you ever met Rob Young's
Yeah,
accountant?
what?
Have you ever met Rob Young's accountant? Because
No, he killed himself. I had an appointment.
Yeah. You have to go to the place they got the padded cells. That's where you'll find him.
I bet he is one sick. He's either one sick puppy or he's just retired.
And they're saying that because Rob likes to put on these massive guarantees. Many times he used to come up short, especially here at the club at Dusk Till Dawn, they tell me, on his guarantees, but it doesn't bother him. He wants to build up the game, build up the industry, get the loyalty of the players, and he has certainly done that. And
And he's got it. I mean, you don't hear a bad word said about Rob Young, Party Poker, or Dusk Till Dawn in the last couple of years.
no, it is true.
The security guards at the door see to that.
Oh, I thought I was the only one got a warning to keep my mouth shut.
315.
Well, unless Maria's other card is a queen that we can't see here, she could be in dire straits this pot if she's not careful.
If it's an ace, she could be in real dire straits.
Or a king.
Now that they're three-handed, if she does have a hand like Queen Jack of Clubs, Mike Queen King, ace queen. She pretty much she's going to see the flop anyway, right? I mean, there's a lot of reasons three-handed to start seeing the flop, or
Well, certainly you
What's
got
it? But second is 625,000. What's third?
Jeez. Well, they just got a 350, so it must
Does that
be.
mean you don't need? You don't know.
Third is 450, and
I
second
should've-
is 650.
I should have looked at the sheet. Was it? Sorry about that.
Well, when you get home, if you get out third, then you're happy later that you made that kind of money. But when you're sitting there with 3 left, it's certainly not where you want to go out.
Yeah, I'm a great advocate of when you get knocked out of a tournament, you're disappointed. Put the money under the pillow, and when you wake up the next morning, it
feel
looks
a little
an awful
better.
lot better. Oh, you feel fine.
Guys, she's
you can have a
looking
full
at
breakfast anyway.
This is a 4-bet. Is there any other hand besides a queen she would do a 4-bet with?
Oh, ace queen.
Could be an ace queen. 2 queens, obviously.
Oh, nope, sorry, she's called.
Yeah, she just made the call.
Which means, as we've seen, she could still have queens, Park. She slow played the kings.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
God, she slow played the guy to death with the kings, and
Now, here's the problem with ace king. You always feel like you're obligated to make a continuation bet here.
I thought you had to.
And even though this is much better than like a jack 9-8, for example, it's still nothing you're thrilled about, but you definitely have to make a follow-up bet here, I would think, if you're Jeremy. And then you hope she's got the queen jack.
Also, I mean, you kind of just hope she calls because you can take the free card on the turn, maybe.
He
right?
checked it, though.
Yeah, he did.
And now the board pairs 7s. Now, when he checks there, literally, it's like just an open book almost that the guy's got ace, king, ace, queen. Ace, jack suited.
And really, then if you're Marie, you have to decide if you can take them off with 2 big barrels or if it's worth trying.
Obviously, I think if he should know that she doesn't have a second pair here. She's going to bet the turn.
Well, he should know that she might well have one. It's just from what we see.
She has been
No.
quite trappy. Quite trappy.
That's a good bet by Jeremy there, I think. You have to assume if a guy checks the flop, he's going to check the turn with the 7 coming off. So if you have a pair in this spot, you have to bet in case he's got ace, king, ace, queen, ace, jack.
And he doesn't want to play whack-a-mole on the river. I mean, if he checks here, he has to call a bet on the river no matter what, right? Kinda? No?
No, you worry about that when you get. You worry
my
about that when you get to the river, you know.
You guys who reevaluate it. It's way too
No.
much thought.
If it's a queen, jack, or 10, then I say yes. He's got a very tough decision. If it's any other card like a 3, then no. I think you do call. I like the bet by him here, though. He knows she doesn't have a pair. She would have bet the turn there. So that was well done by Jeremy in my mind.
I'm guessing it was king queen or ace queen she had there.
It's funny. I mean, we've been talking about Jacob so much, but at this stage, I do feel like the game is being played for an extra $100 grand.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it really is like one of the greatest promotions in the history of poker, I think.
Well, the thing about it that's great is that it doesn't even matter if they meet the guarantee or not. That Rob's going to do his $100,000 anyway. It was like he was trying to find out a way he was insured to lose money.
Oh, he's well capable of that. I mean, talk about giving the players a break. I mean, you know, we're not here just to beat Rob's drum, but I mean, this is genuine. Like, I mean, he is giving the players a break. He's giving them a hell of a break.
And I've been around a long time, and I want to say that the poker players don't deserve it.
Not the ones we know.
Well, as the Party Poker Live president, John Duthie, says, this is a tour for the players. And is he right? These kind of whopping guarantees, the opportunity for the little guy to get in these tournaments, the added money, the prize money, it's just massive. It's just incredible. And if you're a poker player, believe me, it does open your eyes and you say, hey, you know, you want to support those people, and rightfully so.
Yeah. If you don't, you're nuts.
It was a bit of an action card on a dry board.
Yeah. It looked like it was just going to peter out, and now everybody's got a little something.
Go on, Jacob. Why call when you can raise? That's the man I know. It's a nice question to ask Jeremy, isn't it?
It's a great hand to raise with right here. The semi-bluff, as we call it. If you get called, you've got outs to win the pot, but
I mean, Jacob easily could have.
Look at this.
Well, I would say Jacob easily could be slow playing a queen here. I think, right? I mean, it's not. Jeez, Jeremy's got an opinion. Oh, come a deuce. I want to see a big bluff. Come a deuce.
Oh my God.
uh-oh.
Oh, that's
This is
just
gonna be-
cruel. Well, that's just cruel.
This is going to be tapioca pudding for Jeremy.
Absolutely.
Seriously.
Well, if
It's going
Jeremy
to be
can-
very difficult for him not to go for his whole stack here.
If Jeremy can get out of this, we'll never hear of Houdini again.
I think one thing that Jacob has not done wrong is he has not bet too small. He went stack size. It looked to me like 100 million, yeah.
115 million.
I mean, it's
God, I mean, the heart.
It's an automatic call. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it.
no-brainer.
You have to call here. It was the Joker. The best card for Jacob, the worst card for Jeremy. There it was, a 10 on the river. That wasn't the 10 of hearts where the flush was up there as well.
There's his rail. There's a bunch of local guys. Jacob has certainly got some supporters there. Marie is asking for a chip count off of Jeremy. Fair enough. And this is before she decides what to do with the raggedy old ace in the small blind. If he's got, and he does, have about 19 big blinds right now, or 18. Yeah, I guess it's a bit ropey because she's thinking if she raises and he shoves, she kind of has to call but doesn't really want to play that big a pot. I mean, so she's decided to limp it.
Remember, we were talking about Ireland's Colette Doherty earlier, saying she come up with the one, don't feed the bears.
Did she limp the shove here? I mean, she very well may have. It's a risk. It's a ropey play, but it's definitely the right one. But I guess you gotta play the edges when you're down to 3 players, right? Ace is an ace.
What did I miss, guys?
Well, she limped in the small blind rather than raising it. I mean, at first she asked Jeremy just how many big blinds he had. The answer was, I think, 19. So she's limped, and now Jeremy's raising. I guess she's deciding whether to shove or not. I don't think she can call here, can she? She's got it. Should obviously be right. These, unfortunately, got to make a lot of marginal decisions in this game.
I'm betting she's going to fold.
On past form, yeah, but I mean, she was under-repping her hand really in the blinds, but it's the weakest ace.
I kind of like what you're saying there, Bart.
Yeah.
I think that she probably did limp to fold. She didn't want to raise fold, so she decided to limp fold.
You know, he's got a kind of a stack that she don't want to double up. You know, they have him on the ropes. They might want to keep him there.
Is this one of those things where one of the other reasons she doesn't want to do it up is because it's given Jacob so much equity by her playing a big pot with Jeremy?
Yeah, and they want to take cheap flops against Jeremy and for one of them to take him out, don't they? They don't want to be doubling him up.
Yeah, I mean, the jumper here is huge.
Gus Hansen had a big thing on that in his book from years ago about the dynamics three-handed, I believe.
A lot of shit.
Well, it was quite a long book, to be fair. I still think it was I think it was one of the greatest poker books ever written.
Is that the one about
Every Hand Revealed when he did the whole?
Yeah.
I think it was. To me, it's.
I read it in one sitting.
It's a fantastic idea as well, isn't it? It hadn't been done before.
Yeah, but it's fantastic. He won a tournament. I mean, could you imagine?
Well, how many times did he go through the process before? Was it the first time he went through the
Of course
process?
it was. He's Gus Hansen, Barney.
That's pretty incredible, isn't it?
I can think of a lot of players who could have started writing that book, and we're going to publish it when they won a tournament. I mean, one guy started. One guy started with a quill. I guess nobody knows what a quill is anymore.
Simon changed the name.
Well, what do you think Jeremy's going to make of the fact that she took so long to call?
I'm not crazy.
Not an
I'm
awful-
not crazy about this call that she made. It
Not
feels-
not an awful lot, because she's been taking very long about every
With all
decision.
decisions, yeah. That's a fair comment.
She's been taking a long time about this. Jeremy finds.
I mean, what was the final decision? It was just too strong a hand to fold and just too weak a hand to shove?
I don't know.
Well,
I'll
she's
play-
now got a pair, and he's bet pretty small. She's really going to be hoping he checks behind on the turn here.
It's so admirable that she does look like she has a very good plan all the time.
That was the plan.
Yeah, that is the plan, isn't it? That's plan A.
Now, if she can check again, he'll think this is a good card to represent, won't he?
Yeah,
And he does have the gut shot as backup.
could be check into 10.
It can't be a check. I mean,
No.
No, that's just
she
for the
doesn't have an
sickie.
ace in a million years
Yeah,
here.
oh, wow. Maybe if he didn't have the gut shot as backup, he would have put it bet again then. Well, you know, there aren't that many fives out there. She's got to either let him hang himself.
What do you mean there aren't that many fives out there? Four of them. Right?
I honestly don't believe he checked there. Explain that to me. I mean, it looked for all the world like he had an ace and she could never have one.
Yes, it did. But if
I actually think he may have made a small mistake there in that he acted a little bit too fast. If he'd had a little bit of a think about it, he might have represented the ace and managed to do all his.
do you think the fact that he had the chance to hit a miracle gut shot came into his
you're
thinking?
probably right, yeah.
That's a good point.
And also the fact that he's seen her check call with huge hands so many times. You know, but, it's horrible when she calls you when you're bluffing. It's horrible, isn't
Yeah,
it?
but she can't have an ace here. I mean, she can't have an ace here. He knows that. She doesn't have an ace. She doesn't even have an ace, even though we see it. She does not have one.
Has she made her decision yet about?
It's far more likely she's got maybe.
On past form, she checks here, but it's what she puts him on. If she thinks that he's got a hand she can extract value from, once he's checked on the turn, it feels like he's got showdown value, and she needs to make a bet. That's how I would feel if I was her. She needs to make like a half pot bet.
I'm not
Yeah, to love the
100%
Olympia
sure
and
who
the
the action
dealer's
is
chair.
on. I guess it's on Maria.
Yeah. It's still on her. She never does anything in a hurry, and that makes her very, very balanced. You can't read anything about strength or weakness into that. She's trying to extract some value from any one pair hand,
Wow.
or even, you know.
I wonder, can she be inducing a raise here? She can-
Definitely part of her thinking, Park.
She has bet very small, actually, hasn't she? She's bet very small.
So I suppose the chances of Jeremy having a five are minuscule.
I think she's pretty much discounting that. I think she's discounting the idea of her being
I
behind.
was thinking about if he shoved.
Well, yeah, okay.
Would she be discounted?
Well, it's also, you know, she gives herself the option to get away if he does shove and she decides she's behind. I mean, this is the way she always plays. She gives herself so many options all the way down to the river.
Wow!
And he's done it. He's pulled the trigger.
Go on, my man. Go on, my man.
Yeah, but it's not enough. It's not enough to make her fold. You know, she's going to think, because she always does.
Well, it
she's gonna-
might be enough to make her fold, but you got to give
Yeah.
the guy credit.
You
It's
do.
all he had. I mean, what do you want him to do? Buy in again?
She saw it as a defensive bet. You know?
I think it was somebody used to say this is the greatest thing about poker is if you always give people the rope to hang themselves with.
Yeah.
That's the most powerful play you can make. I think it was Eric Seidel. who
Yeah,
used to
I
say
mean, listen,
something
you know,
like that.
fair play to her. She never does anything in a hurry, but, you know, she in a million years, she doesn't fold this.
Well, I mean, it's 65, 70 million to her, 80 million to her.
I mean, it looks like a very, very strong bet by him because he can't possibly be expecting a fold if she's got any kind of hand. Certainly if she's got an ace or better. And he only gets rid of a bluff, and if she's got a bluff, then his king high might be good. So, wow, I mean, I'm not sure about this bet by him because of the stack sizes.
I love it. I mean,
It's making her think.
The guy's going to go out. They're going to carry him out on his shoulders.
If anybody thinks this long when you make a bluff, it can't be that terrible, right? Because you made them think. It's when you get snapped off that it's embarrassing. But, I mean, how is she ever folding here? She's got aces up.
I think she's folding.
She's got him. You think she's folding?
Yeah.
You think she made it bet small so she could get away?
No, I think, like you said, she decided to make the bet small so she could reevaluate.
Yeah.
Give him the chance to bluff. But this is just a great.
She's a thinking player, and she always gives herself the chance to think, and I think that's great. But she's only going to come to one conclusion here. She's got aces up.
Yeah. Listen.
Well,
if she does call
with
here,
a few 100,000 on the line, she's quite entitled to have a little bit.
Yeah.
If she does call here, she's not only beat him, she's filleted him. She's skewered him. She's roasted him. I mean, this is the third player she's done this to, basically. I mean, think about it. It's an incredible performance she's done here.
I mean, he is kind of
spit him out.
He's at one end or the other of the scale here to do this, isn't he? I mean, either he's very confident he's in front, or he's got nothing, and she knows that.
Well, the other thing is, if this happened against maybe Jacob, I mean, he'd be quite likely to have a 5 here, but maybe even the 5-6.
Yeah, maybe up until this moment she hasn't been sure how small the raise is, because she's just been thinking through the hand.
Well, it's not that small. I mean, Barney, if she calls and loses, okay, she is now third in chips.
Yeah.
Okay, if she calls.
Is she?
Yeah, there's 254 in there, and it's about 85 to her. He's gonna have 320. She's gonna have 250.
She's got a call. If he shows her a 5, he shows her a 5.
If she calls and wins,
she's made the call. Good for her. Good for her.
Wow.
Wow. And we're now heads
I
up.
got news for you. This is an unbelievable performance. I mean, great stuff from Jeremy.
Yeah, it was a great effort. He would have got her off one pair, right?
I mean, I loved that play by him.
Yeah.
But you have to love the play by her even more because she set it up. She set every single player in this table up, and then she just kicked him in the knee.
So now we've got two players.
It's more like bollocks, actually.
We've got two players heads up. They're the two players that we thought were probably going to get heads up, and I think probably deserve to be heads up in this. But they've got very
from two out. They were always the players.
They've got two very different.
You guys are so fickle. I mean, when you started the day, you were predicting them.
They've got two very different journeys that they made it here by. I mean, Maria was she was a day 2 direct buy-in, so she bought in at the last possible moment when she would have been well behind the average stack. And
you get 10 big blinds or something.
No, you get more. No, you get 50 big blinds.
I turned down the opportunity to do that because I thought it was bad value.
Well, in your hands, it probably would have been. But Jacob, now his journey was that he won this middleweight on Party Poker, and he won 5.5k, and he played the DTD 500 deep stack. He finished in the top 8. He won himself a Caribbean package. He went to Punta Cana. He got through the day 1 and the day 2. He got the gold medal. So he's been all around the world. She just turned up, put down $5,000 at the last minute. And
when you said they got here by very different routes, you weren't kidding, were you?
No.
Well, I'd like to play a middleweight tournament, but I think I'm too heavy.
You're the right height. You're the right height, Jesse. You're the perfect weight for a 6'2" boxer.
God, I mean, isn't that a fantastic story?
Isn't it great? It's great.
Really
I mean, and it goes to show there's a million ways to get into this tournament. There they are, both playing for $1 million. And he's.
Do you remember Niall Smith in the Irish Open?
I do.
who beat Surinder Sunar heads up a few years ago. This guy started off with 20 quid a few days before the Irish Open, wasn't it? And he backed the winner of the Grand National at 10 to 1. And then went online and played a satellite for the Irish Open that cost 220 something. I think he had to win.
Hands and holding to a raise, because he'll exploit that.
He's
picks
got
up on it.
slightly the better of the exchange so far, you think?
Well, he's had the better of the cards, that's for sure. And but she made a great attempt on that double 10 board, which would have worked a lot of the time.
If he doesn't have the pair, of course.
It's like I prefer when they stop with the antes when it's a heads-up match. Makes things a little easier.
They're kind of not necessary, it's true, because they're both
Completely
invested in every pot anyway, that's true. Well, it's her turn to hit, and this is her style.
Shot for Jacob.
He had a big gut shot earlier that was hidden. That helped him knock out the third place finisher. And I would say it would be quite similar here. If he hits the 5 on the turn, he's going to probably get 3 streets.
Is he
right?
going to get to the turn? I mean,
Well, if she's going to check raise air, she should really be check raising when she's making those as well.
That's a really good point.
but that's not been her style
We have
up
not
to
seen
now.
her. We have not seen her check raise with this kind of hand.
No, no.
One pair ball.
She, when she's got something she doesn't want to be bet off, especially out of position. This is how she's been playing it.
But she's induced, I'd say, 3 of the players at the final table she induced to hang themselves on total stone cold nothing.
She's like a siren on the rocks, isn't she?
She
I mean, this is
really
unbelievable.
Hear my song.
I'm not sure about this one. I think I would probably take my free card here if I was Jacob.
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's nothing wrong with keeping up the pressure. She can't have like top pair every time, you know what I mean?
It's really tough to check the river when you've barreled this turn, isn't it? I mean, you can't really respect.
You're just
yourself.
you're kind of building a pot, aren't you? That
You know that feeling well.
It's
This
not
is a
like-
man with
Is he reaching?
experience in the 3-barrel
If
bluffs.
you now flat call it, you're already starting to price up how much you can try and make this on the
Although there is probably no sweeter feeling in poker than the big 3rd-barrel bluff that you really shouldn't be making and getting the 3rd barrel.
You know what?
through.
He's
As
probably
far
hoping
as
for a
Maria's
6 or a 3.
concerned,
If he doesn't get the 5, 6 or 3, so he can just check behind. I think. With a bit of
if
shove.
it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's her approach, isn't it? This has been working for her all the way.
He's got there.
Oh
He's got
my
there. I
God!
think he'll get a few quid out of this as well.
Oh my God!
Yep. This is the 2nd time it's happened.
It ain't
This is
fair.
how you do it.
It's not fair. I mean,
Well,
most of the time she was either already behind or comfortably in front, and that was the case here. But is she going to check call again? I mean, how big is he going to size it now?
he's going to go big.
Yeah, that's what to make it look like a bluff, and yeah,
I think he's going to go big, and she's going to call.
120 million, something like that, a bit more.
The problem is, I mean, you haven't been watching him all 2 days like the rest of us, Scally, but I think he would have made a big bet if that card doesn't come. I think he was setting himself up for a 3-barreler.
Yeah, I mean, he knows it works a lot of the time. Now, wow, she was in front the whole time. She seems to have a good sense of where she is in the pot in terms of strength. Yeah, he's gone for almost a pot size bet. And again, he's polarized. How's that 5 made his hand? As far
Poker's
as
such
he's
an
a-
unfair game
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah. What's she imagining that he might have? A set? A set?
I think it's kind of such a strong bet. She might actually just read
Jack
this as a
Queen.
barrel.
That's his plan, isn't it?
I think she's going to call.
You think she's going to
I
call?
think she's going to call.
I do too. I think she has to, honestly.
I
But
don't
she
know.
has made laydowns in this spot. She got away from this exact player.
Yeah.
He was raising 7 out of 8 hands or 7 out of 10, whatever, yesterday with 2
She's
tables
folding.
left. She got away from jacks.
This is a fold.
She got away from jacks on a 10 high flop. He had aces. He had raised. She flatted. It was amazing. Or cowardly.
I mean,
It's always a fine line.
Yeah, it was a good fold on that occasion, is what you say.
No, it was happened to be.
I think the hand she's most afraid of is maybe Jack Queen, right?
Jack Queen potentially. Yeah, would he bet that high with Queen King? I mean,
Yeah, probably not.
Well, he's very polarized.
Yeah. This is well,
there's no point showing a card now. Now she knows what he's
what she's done here. Well, she's shown one card. What she's done here is she's called on every street when she's in front, and she's ditched it when she miraculously went behind. He's tried to mess with her head by showing this, showing the one card, 6.
86 BB versus 71. Yeah, it's still very close.
I mean, basically, the story of this heads up so far is the cards have been very sweet to him, I think, and she's kind of she's got away doing the minimum in every hand where she's either tried something or gone behind on the end.
He's going to be the guy making the big barrels. The problem that I always think is that you say, well, you just got to catch him once, but if you don't, the guys who make those big barrels, they actually, that aggression.
But you know what was wrong?
Course of it,
do you know what was wrong with him showing that card to try and get into her head that he bluffed her? Because that's not what he wants to do. No. He wants her to be a believer.
Yeah.
You know, and he wants her to make these laydowns when they're wrong.
But I just mean, if you in the blind, if you say one guy's the bluffer and the aggressor, and the other person's the trapper, you want the bluffer and the aggressor every time.
Heads up, right? Heads up, certainly.
Right, in a heads up scenario.
Yeah.
I mean, you're pretty ridiculously aggressive heads up. No? Well, we used to be back in the old days.
Steady on, Jesse. I might actually get heads up again sometime, you know.
Oh no, I wouldn't worry about it, Scully. Honestly.
Me, I just like to keep the pressure on. I'm of the opinion that I don't need to hit my cards. You need to hit yours. So, you know, just keep pounding them and pounding them.
But what we've seen is an aggressive player who's been hitting cards as well, and that's a pretty deadly combination.
You also see people, when they get a big chip lead, they're scared of losing it. But the way I see it, once you've got a chip lead, it means you can't be knocked down at that stage. So it's probably more, you can always get the chip lead back if you should lose it.
Meanwhile, this is the first free bet out of the big blind, and he's picked a nice kind of hand to do it with. She's maybe just a little bit too strong, especially at this price, to put this hand down.
I think psychologically he's kind of got the battle right now, because he felt obviously very free to just make that 3-bet. He wasn't scared at all that she might even come back at him.
Well, and this is how he's going to win it. If he keeps these C-bets, these sort of boards. I mean, there's not many 6s in her range calling 3-bet as well, so.
He doesn't necessarily just give up straight away, but she does a lot of the time here, so.
I think you have to, really. I mean, you've got Queen at the end of the day. But, you know, this is if he starts making these moves in these spots, this will be how he wins. But like you say, don't be showing the bluffs anymore. You kind of want it to be a
Cards with the board.
Well, she knows the value though. She knows the value.
But now he knows that. It'd be interesting to see if he's just going to keep barreling or whether he's just happy to take a free card here and there.
Jeez, he's got 2-1 chip lead.
Oh, well, I was going to say she looks like she's thinking about playing. She must play back here and play back reasonably big.
I don't know.
Unless she's thinking of trapping, it's one of those where
she's waited so long without 3-betting. It almost seems more. I don't know.
But she could catch a pretty disguised hand, and now she knows he's barreling a lot.
Yeah, I guess she knows that she's going to get him to lay down a lot of cards, that hands that she's dominating. She does play back, but she's got herself into a sticky situation here.
Well, I think she's going to be check calling it down with the ace high as well.
Well, she's done it with king high and queen high so far. So
I've seen this before, and to be honest, I feel like this almost always plays out with Jacob winning. You know, you just heads up, you just cannot beat a trapper. It just don't work.
I mean, like I said, she needs to be prepared to get more chips into a pot before the flop and to turn this thing around. But she knows her ace is good a lot of the time. So fair play to her. This is the way she's playing.
Well, yeah, but if it's a guessing game, she's going to check, and it's tough, man.
No, it's not ideal, is it? It's not ideal. She's giving herself some very, very difficult decisions. But will Jacob continue? Past form says that he does. Yeah. Maria's made it very complicated for herself, facing this and the river bet.
I mean, this reminds me a bit, to be honest. If you watch the heads up in the World Series main event this year, the gentleman who won, he was 10 times more aggressive, and it looked like he was always going to win. The other fellow was trying to trap him.
Yeah.
And honestly, never really got the chance.
We actually had that on in here, and it would have been a massive injustice if the other guy would have won for sure.
You don't connect with the flop very often with that. Wow.
How long I watched it, but I've been away from the poker so long. I can't remember either player's name.
Well, do you know what?
I don't know the name of the. I mean, I can't even. I'm so embarrassed.
I just call them all matey.
By the way, it makes more sense for her to play this way if she's prepared to make these calls that she's making here, because she's right.
Well,
she is right. You know, I know. I mean. You know, and how the hell does he bet again now? That's a blank on the river.
I think he's betting.
Well,
I don't know.
Well, he does have a king. You know,
I mean, the Barney.
He's
the
only
polarizing
going
stuff
to get her to pass exactly an ace, right?
The polarizing stuff he's done. Well, maybe. If he does bet, he has to bet pot size.
He could
really.
put her on a flush draw, busted flush draw here.
Yeah, but then he's hoping his king's good, right?
But he can't expect his king to be good here, so I think he has to bet this. So I think a bet of about 100,000.
He's got to bet big.
Yeah,
He's
100 million will do.
No, he's been betting pot size on the river with his good hands. He's got to, doesn't he? He's got to go 160 or so.
Do you really? If it's just a busted flush draw, we don't know that.
Wow. Well, you know, she's chosen to play it a certain way, and
well, if she does find a call here,
it'll be very impressive. But
momentum will switch massively.
What was her plan on the turn? If she's not, I mean, it is a very big bet.
Well, her plan this entire tournament that we've seen so far is always to give people the opportunity to bluff into her and make the tough decisions and reevaluate. She's made a lot of them right.
Yeah.
A lot of them right.
She'll take her time. This is a this is a high stress.
You can see her,
You know, she can turn around the chip position with this call.
She made me think: is he going to bet a 2 or 4?
She's beating every bluff. And
she's going to be 4-to-1 chip disadvantage if she calls and loses here. It's nearly tournament over for her. You've never lost a chip lead of 4-to-1.
No.
Have you ever had one?
There was a TV one once.
I remember you won the first 13 hands in a row.
Yeah, I knocked everybody out in about 30 minutes, except for this one guy, and a 9-to-1 chip lead against him.
Michael Kiner,
yeah.
right?
Oh, wow,
Michael
it was painful,
Kiner.
wasn't it? And he got it in ace-8 against my 8-9, and the TV company was panicking because they didn't have enough for a TV
It was like
show.
12 minutes.
This is so unorthodox. The way
And he
she
got there,
plays
didn't he?
his
I'm sure I was set up.
He came all the way back.
I did win it in the end, but God knows how. That was funny. That was like so painful.
It's funny. We've done so many of those, but I remember that one clearly.
I think I aged about 5 years on that.
Because you had a string of bad luck in him up to that point.
Oh, that was some terrible luck.
And then it was finally like, redemption.
It was all good
Finally,
luck,
Scally is not the total dead money that everyone has come to believe in the TV tournament sit and goes.
Steady on, Jesse. I have feelings, mate. Don't keep it to the fat guy.
Oh, it was fun.
Meanwhile, Maria's facing her biggest and toughest decision of the whole tournament so far.
Honestly, I mean, she has.
I think
looks
she
like
wants
she's
to
done.
call, but you know,
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
got family home watching.
Yeah, yeah.
It's one of those, if you call and you're wrong, if you fold and you're wrong, it's not a disaster. But if you call here with ace high and you're wrong,
Yeah.
and you're playing for $1 million, it's pretty
She
painful.
kind of looks like she's already being nostalgic about the chips, doesn't she? It's like she doesn't look like she's thinking that hard. It's like wishful. But you know, she's considering. I mean, you know, she decided on the turn. She was still good.
What I admire about her
Come on.
is that she put
Come on.
herself in a position. She knew she was putting herself in a position to have to make this decision. And, I mean, right or wrong, she was willing. This is how she's gotten to this point. There's
Yeah.
3 guys who have made ridiculous bluffs against her. And, you know, she's called every time.
Well, obviously she can't get a read on him because he's covered his face.
It's actually a good turn card for her to continue her plan in this pot. You know, the queen won't have changed whoever was in the lead in the pot. She's gone with reads a lot. And I think she's calling.
I think
she's calling.
I think she's calling too.
Yeah, it really looks like it. You know, she's thinking, how much difference does it make, you know, to my situation if I lose these chips compared to how it's going to turn the thing around if I win the pot. She's calling.
This is her
She's
tournament.
calling.
This is her tournament.
It's huge. Wow. I thought she'd given up.
Wow.
That's brilliant.
Nice
That's
call.
brilliant.
Nice call.
Wow.
And
Wow.
He's going to hate seeing
Ace
the
high, baby. Beat that. Take that. Wow.
Ace high like a
Oh,
boss.
man.
I mean, if people are going to get a read on you like that anyway, why bother with the sunglasses, the hoodies? I mean, I think
Beat it up, didn't she?
Yeah,
Be a
she's
sign of
sitting up in her
confidence.
chair and she's feeling like she can really win this.
I mean,
and,
the body language looks
yeah.
very good for her. You know, like we've been watching her for 2 days, being very deliberate about all the decisions. And
Can she play back on this board?
I mean, who can watch this and say that poker is not sport? You know, you've got the switch.
a lot of people I can think of. Do you want me to start naming them? And how long have you got?
I don't. who
The
can say that
master of
these-
answering the rhetorical question.
Who can say these are not 2 athletes in the prime of their?
Oh, don't get him started again, for God's sake.
In the prime of their careers.
Wow.
It was like that whole thing when they had the. Sorry.
Listen, she knows that he continues on every flop, and she might find a check raise here. She's changed up her game. She hasn't got a strong enough hand to call down with. Oh, okay, it's a call. Wow.
Oh, my God.
Okay, well, how much better a card can she have hopes of seeing on the turn? Top pair now and the flush draw. Now she can go back into check call mode.
We'll see how quickly he checks here.
I mean, that was an out of position float with her. Don't make no mistake. She had nothing. She was planning something on the turn.
By the way, under the heading of Jacob.
Well, that's
takes
all
heart.
she could have been doing, Barney.
Yeah.
This takes heart.
Yeah. He doesn't switch off. I mean, I love the way he plays it. Her
It might not be hard. It might be stubbornness.
their styles are so well set up for a great heads-up match because they've got opposite styles, haven't they? And a lot of it is card dependent. But now, you know, I think she was planning to do a check raise on the turn, and now she can just call because she's hit kind of like the ultimate bingo card on the turn for her.
There's so many scare cards out there, Parg.
She
a
may
check
go
raise
for. She may go for the raise.
I don't think she has to.
I would have thought so, but
I think from her point of view, if she goes for the check raise, she doesn't give him the opportunity to lose his entire stack on the river.
This
for
is
her
a
to
give
make-
up. I say he gives up this time because you know she called on that 2 diamond board. You know she called again on the turn when the diamond came. What does he think he's going to get her off on the river?
Look at the color of his ears right now, Barney. I think he's determined. He's committed to a strategy.
Well, for a start off, she could have a flush.
Yeah, but I actually I actually think he's
Well,
kind
it fits the story.
I actually
really
think it's
betting
very,
this?
very important to him to get a bluff.
Oh, he has
through.
to bet really
Yeah,
big.
After getting
Yeah.
a bluff called, I think there's something else at work here.
He's overbet the pot here. He's overbet the pot.
I think she's going to find this call quicker than the last one.
My God, it's unbelievable if she does make this call and loses. How quick these people have switched without a cooler at all. I mean,
It's still a hard one.
Well,
you
it's
know.
no final without a decent cooler, just to
It's harder
rip
for him
somebody's
to.
heart out.
It's harder for him to free barrel on this flop because she's, she's got something so much of the time and she's trapped so many times. I mean, he's got a lot of heart doing this, but and it makes it kind of believable because if she's thinking, how can he still be doing it again after he's just been found out?
I think there's an ego. I mean, maybe not an ego thing. I feel like he feels like he has to get one through now after getting a bluff called for some reason.
Well, I mean, he
Well,
just,
I've been guilty of that myself more than once.
he left himself.
I know
with
Barney
only-
hasn't, but I mean,
He left himself with only one way to win the pot, and he knows it. And he came in here with this strategy. It's worked for him a lot of the time. But
I mean, listen.
is this a harder or easier decision than the ace high?
it's an easier one.
Yeah.
Because it's going to do her less damage if she's wrong. And
Well, it's a huge bet, but just in terms of
and the 10 doesn't look that scary. It doesn't really fit.
Well, and as you
yeah.
said, since the flush is there, the truth is that the 10 doesn't mean anything because how could the man bet 160
Yeah.
million on hitting the 10
I was gonna say,
when there's
it's
three diamonds
polarized,
on
right?
board and she's a trapper? I mean, he's got a straight, he's got a flush, or you don't have a thing.
he knows that she calls down with high cards a lot, and she's hoping this is he's hoping that's what's happened here, that she's called down with high cards. And
Yeah.
he's not trying to get her off a pair
Well, he
of
could be
nines.
trying to get her off something like ace 5.
Yeah. He's not trying to get her off a pair of nines. He doesn't think that's what she's got. And
Yeah, well, there's no reason to believe she's got a pair of 9s.
I mean,
if she thinks about it, she knows he's polarized there, right?
he would never have made this bet with hitting the 10 on the river, would he? That?
No.
I mean, it would be great if he could.
No, he'd have been delighted to hit the 10 and checked.
No, he probably would have valued it, but he would have bet
Well,
like,
okay.
Sort of just under half pot or something like that, maybe. But
You're right,
I don't know.
it is
But-
pretty
but-
polarized here.
But he could
Yeah.
easily have a 5-7. I mean, easily. I mean, I think he could have a 5-7. I think he could have a
Well, of course he could, yeah.
7.
he's got previous. He tried.
seven,
He
eight.
tried to make her think he was bluffing when he wasn't. Then he got found out in a big bluff. And does this make her less or more likely to think he's got it this time?
He could have a 7-8. That would fit.
You know what? If she found the call with the ace jack, I think she's finding this call too, isn't she?
Now I think she's folding. Now I've decided she's
Because
folding.
she sat back in her chair.
I don't
And
think.
because she's only just got these chips.
It's because of the 7-8.
Maybe she's thinking, did I leave the gas on this morning?
The incredible thing is the amount of decisions she's gotten right in a row.
She hasn't made a decision yet. You can tell by the way she's breathing that she hasn't settled into a decision.
You
Unless
can
it's
also
the
tell
call.
that she's still alive. which
Thank you, Dr. Parkinson.
which at some stage in time can be the most important.
Yes,
Oh yeah, she's making it.
She's going to count it out anyway. She still hasn't made a decision.
This is the kind of heads up, though, where if it continues this way, she does call and she beats Jacob. And he's going to have nightmares about this for forever, basically. You know, she's put him in the stew pot for so long.
He played a good style to beat her a lot of the time. I mean, and to be fair, he's not to know she turned the 9. You know, she might well have called with two big cards with the ace of diamonds on the turn.
Yeah.
You know, and that was what he was trying to bet against. He was betting against something like ace jack, ace 10 with the ace of diamonds. Well, not ace 10 obviously, but.
I think there's absolutely no chance she's folding here.
No, I think she's calling.
It's great.
Yeah.
This has really turned out great. You know, there's nothing I like more than seeing two bad hands put together. That's where all the fun happens.
If she wins
Yeah.
this, she's won it in such an unorthodox way, hasn't she? Exactly the kind of opposite way to what the book says you should do when you play heads up.
Totally.
And this is great. You know, the game just keeps on changing, and you keep seeing new
You're
things.
so right, Barney. It's the amazing thing. I mean, here she is. She's
Still
basically
looks the same to me. That may explain quite a lot.
here she is showing something that has not been shown much before.
And she puts herself through the ringer over and over again. She
Yeah.
finishes up with these really, really hard decisions.
That's the
and
crux
9
of it.
times out of 10, she gets them right.
That's the crux of this style. Is
Yeah,
that she
yeah,
puts
yeah.
Like
herself-
in this bus, I mean, she really has the guy on the cooler here. Like, I mean, he's in the tumble dryer, and the speed is going up right now.
She
She's counting
thinks
out
about-
those chips, and it's not just losing this pot.
No.
I mean, what happens?
Next time, he
what
has to
happens
do it
now?
again.
Yeah.
And she thinks about what he's putting her on. That's how she makes the call. Because how many times has she been calling down with high cards, picked up some outs on the turn, called again? You
I
know,
hope
mean,
she, whether she calls or folds, I hope she doesn't do it. Okay, 1 minute. So I don't know what Jacob had for lunch, but we are going to find out at some point.
Who's put her on the clock?
Well, it can only be him, right? There's only one.
No,
other
I
player
just
in the
wondered, can the casino put her on?
No,
Are
they
you
wouldn't
sure?
do that.
Yeah.
It can only be that Jacobs put her on the clock, and
How did he do that without
That's what I
lowering the
want to
hoodie?
know. Well, anyway.
Does he wiggle his ears too?
well, I had the table sound turned down. I don't know. It was, no one else can have done it, right?
How long you been playing? No, I mean, you know, weird things happen sometimes. I mean, you can get. I've seen people.
You
get
know,
put
they're
on-
playing-
I've seen people get
You
put
know,
on-
Yes,
oh
there
well,
you go,
well
yeah, yeah.
played.
Putting on the clock didn't help. That's. He didn't. She didn't think. I mean, he didn't think that she had the hand that strong. He thought he was getting her off ace high, and
I mean, a lot of those don't realise that that's probably Barney's most significant contribution.
what do you
And
mean?
you know, it's a bit like, you know, they're doing it as a matter of routine now, but they don't know what a great mind came up with this.
I turn up and contribute everywhere I go. What are you talking?
He's the man who invented the squeezy pleasy.
But that's only recently.
Oh, mate.
You know, I'm sure the guy that invented the hula hoop wasn't famous for quite a while. Like, I mean, you know, the hula hoop probably took quite a long time to take off.
Listen, just in case some people don't know, but Barg's joking. I mean, Barney is probably one of the
I'm not joking.
one of the 2 or 3 people most responsible for the growth of poker in Europe. If you go back, I mean, it's a fact, Barg. Well, with the Hendon mob and absolutely. Looking at me like that, you know it's true.
Of course it was. I mean,
Saying nothing. I said they were-
well, you know, if they ever ask
we're
me
looking
what
at a
was
player-
Barney Boatman's greatest achievement, I would say it has to be. Do you remember in the late night poker when Barney was doing previews on the Hendon mob?
That's true.
And he had one-liners for you know, all the guys who'd become
Great
household
nicknames,
names. I mean, every one of them was a classic. I mean, I used to love it, but we were talking about this in some commentary on the Irish Open recently, or I mean, was it in Killarney?
What was your favorite one before we get into what may very well be the last hand of the tournament?
Mike McGee. He called him Mystic Mike. He can put you on a hand before you look at your cards.
And if you knew Mike McGee, that is the greatest description of the man.
Closely followed.
We might have to save the rest of them for the next stream. This looks like a bit of a cooler, doesn't it?
Now,
With Jackarama, the crew Alexander of poker can't string 2 passes together.
Oh, I'd forgotten that one. Yeah, that was all right.
Oh, yeah?
There you go. Well,
Wow, and here's the
she's
cooler.
got to fade, mostly just fade an ace for $1 million here.
for £1 million. Now, obviously, Maria's in the catbird seat. If she does lose this, she's the favorite, but she'll still have a 400,000 or so chip stack. It's all in for Jacob. Needing that ace from space.
God, after all the little games of chess that we're playing,
It always winds up, doesn't it, with a big call, or very, very often. 2 huge hands here.
All you can get is a swing and miss.
Well, she's a big favourite now.
Tell you what, these are two total warriors of the felt. I love the way Jacob has played today.
Yeah.
Absolutely adored. But Maria has been.
I like the way he played
revelation.
yesterday.
Yeah, that's true too.
But it ain't over yet.
These are the big ones. Nothing left to do but watch the dealer.
And close your eyes.
This is such a big moment for both of them, especially for her, because
And they both got
one
a big
card
rail
away.
here, so closing your eyes doesn't help, because when you hear the big roar, you don't know who's doing it. I mean, this is for £1 million.
there it is, £1 million. And doesn't she deserve it? I mean, she's played extraordinarily well.
And honestly, the heads up was fantastic. The final
Yeah.
table was fantastic. I mean, a great tournament has had a very, very worthy winner.
Yeah.
And
the worthy
And a
second-
very
worthy
worthy
second
runner-up,
place.
Jeff.
very
I
worthy
think
runner-up.
They both
Absolutely.
played great, but she's made so many really tough
Yep.
decisions. She made it so complicated for herself, and she was up to the task every time.
Yep.
And it was, she trapped.
Look at that smile.
Yeah, I mean, think back what she started to Neil when he had the Kings and Jeremy who bluffed.
I hope that's her boyfriend.
Great. But yeah, and obviously, as you said, full credit to Jacob, who I mean, the man has some serious game,
Yeah,
serious
He
game,
really
and he was
does.
everybody's worry for the last 2 days.
And what a great result for this great tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 locals playing heads up for $1 million in Nottingham. I mean, if you'd asked me a few years ago, I mean, if you turned Nottingham upside down, would you find $1 million? I'd have taken the unders.
And think back, it seems like a long time ago, but think back to the lineup at this final table. What a great lineup it was. Really, really strong final. This format has allowed really good players to come through, and it's allowed really good play at the final. It's been a real pleasure to watch. And I'll tell you what, this time next year, the
We'll all be
only
millionaires.
difference is going to be that it's, the first prize is probably going to be bigger. The prize pool is certainly going to be bigger.
Well, I can
You know,
guarantee you the guarantee won't be small.
As Party Poker Live President John Duthie and Party Poker Ambassador and the King of Poker Mike Sexton, I think, to make the presentation.
And I think it's said that this tournament has been played in a fantastic spirit the whole way through. It's, they're certainly putting the fun back into poker.
Great result for Nottingham. Great result for Dustin.
And she's avoided kissing Duffy, which is quite a good idea. I mean, I knew that jacket wasn't a good idea. I mean, did you see the way she went for the peck on the cheek and then just recoiled?
She's got a good game.
I mean, she's got great instinct.
Yeah, she's got, that's right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, look, see the way she's looking at Duffy. Get away from me.
Have you seen a better heads-up match than that? I mean, it was great.
I actually thought it was one of the best head-up matches. It's exciting,
Really was.
I mean,
It really looked like he was wearing her down. She had to draw a line in the sand. She found a
Right.
very, very unusual, risky way of doing that. And she was up to the task of answering the question that she was asked.
You're right.
Twice.
She
Two big
wasn't
pots.
doing things by the book, but she was
No.
doing things very, very effectively.
She made the most of her hands and
I
Wow.
think people are going to think about this a little bit. I mean, people say, well, the trick to poker is, to make things a little bit easier on yourself. I mean, her line every time was to make things as hard on herself as possible. But she would get the most information.
and the thing is,
and then
she
try and make
trusted
the
herself.
decision. Yeah,
She
exactly.
trusted herself to get it right, and
She's got great instincts. I mean, she's moving over there towards Mike and away from Duffy, which I mean,
Well, frying pines and fires come to mind, but
Do they have the same jacket, or is that a prison uniform? I'm trying to figure out.
that's got to be the
God, you know,
uniform.
Duddy might have bought the one that Mike sold to the charity shop last year when he came across this wonderful specimen.
Okay.
I mean, you think if you're going to wear a tie, you could
want
get
to
one
start?
that'll match.
All right, let's
Start.
listen.
But you know, these are all details.
Well, I'm Mike Sexton on behalf of everyone at Party Poker, and on behalf of the Party Poker Live Tour and President John Duthie, we want to thank everyone for participating in this fantastic championship event. And certainly we now want to talk and congratulate our champion, Maria Lampropoulos from Argentina. Maria, what a fantastic performance you put on today at this final table. You made some fantastic calls for a lot of money. You made some bluffs. You played perfectly. Were you pretty confident coming to this final table that you had a shot to do this?
I can't believe it. It's the best moment of my life. I like, wow. I don't know what to say.
The best moment of your life? Well, that's for sure. You've won £1 million. And not only that, you have created an inspiration for millions of women around the world to now know that they can come out and play poker with the guys and take down the big tournaments.
Yes, women, congrats me. Everybody's so happy with this.
Well, once again, we want to congratulate you for a great performance, for winning the first Millions Championship and £1 million here at Dusk Till Dawn. One more time, let's hear it for our champion, Maria Lampropoulos.
Well, that was great. That was great. She's totally overwhelmed, and
She don't look too overwhelmed to me. She looks totally relaxed.
I'm saying she's overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed. She does look totally relaxed.
Duddy
Well,
looks
I mean,
like
she-
Duddy looks like he just wants to get back into that cash game because I know he's behind.
Anyway, it's been a great week. There's going to be more of these. I'll be back here at Dusk Till Dawn, hopefully in a player's chair at some point. Nah, probably not. I'd rather be sitting here watching Park and Barney at the final table. But it's the great weekend.
It's all pretty academic.
It does. Oh, look at that! I've never seen this before. I can only guess what's going to happen. It ends with the fire department.
It's an Argentinian. It's an old Argentinian tradition.
I guarantee you, this was Simon Trumper's idea.
Well,
and,
I think
and the
there's-
set will soon be on fire.
I think the
if
champagne
not
was
the
flat.
building.
This was how to get the sparkle back in it.
Well, it's a very good idea, but
lovely.
don't try this at home, folks, especially if you're under 5.
It's not going to be that easy to pour. Okay, no, it is.
Sexton will have one, that's for sure. Oh, yeah, in he goes.
Maria, jugaste.
There's the crush. Great stuff. Thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure. My thanks to Park Parkinson, Barney Boatman, all the crew here at Dusk Till Dawn, and I think we'll be
Party
signing
Poker.
off. Party Poker.
The Grand Prix in Dublin next week.
What's
you can play
Argentinian for
Day
nip?
one's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the final on Monday.
And
only
let us know what people should stay in
340.
tune. It's next week's the Grand Prix, and start thinking about Punta Cana.
And start thinking Killarney. Bring your golf clubs and leave them in the car.
Clear the area now, so I did it. I'll ask Danny. We'll be there now. Danny, come tell us what you want, buddy. Ray, you can take a few minutes, it's fine. We get Danny in, we set the lights up, and then you can...